Am I the asshole for making my sister leave my house after her joke about my son's mum leaving again? My son Jack is going to be 2 soon. His mum Annie has a complicated history and how this all happened. Her husband passed away, and 3 months after that, we slept together. We were barely friends at the time, so I didn't know until after our first night together that she'd recently become a widow. She told me that she was really lonely and just enjoyed that physical connection. So for about 8 months, that's how it was. We didn't see each other too often. Then we found out that she was pregnant. She wanted to go through with the pregnancy, and I fully supported her if that is what she wanted. The thing was, she still had a lot of grief, and when my son was born, it was hard for her to connect with him. She said she felt guilty having a baby with another man after losing her husband. By the time Jack was 4 months, she hadn't gotten any better, and her mental health completely deteriorated. I took over with him full-time after this since she wasn't in the best place to be a mother. Annie still visited a few days out of the week for a short period, but I was doing most of the childcare while she went to therapy. Then she was in the hospital for a while. She couldn't come over much during COVID except for video chats, so she's essentially become a stranger to him. 3 months ago, she started coming around more often after not seeing him for a while. She's on antidepressants and therapies helped her a lot. Now she's more set on being a mom, and we are slowly reintroducing him to her. My sister hasn't been happy about this. I know she's upset on my behalf, as I struggled a bit as a single parent. She knows the situation that happened with her, but still thinks she shouldn't be allowed back into Jack's life after abandoning him. And yeah, I get her feelings, but since Annie's in a better place mentally, then I want to give a shot at Jack having a mum around. I still have my guard up, obviously, and we've taken it one day at a time, but I see how different she is with him now. My sister hasn't dropped making comments no matter how many times I've told her to knock it off. She dropped by unannounced when Annie was here and was very openly hostile right in front of Jack. Annie offered to leave, and then my sister jokes, "Make sure you come back this time." I told her to leave and to not come back until she can act right with the mother of my child. My sister is offended that I'm taking her side by kicking her out of my house since she's only angry on my behalf and it was a joke she made. That's why she thinks I'm an asshole. For me, I was thinking I'd rather get her out ASAP before saying something else in front of my son. Was I being an asshole? In the comments, not the asshole. Your child, your child's mother, your rules. Your sister can be angry on your behalf, but her behavior is unacceptable, especially since you have said so. It's a joke. It's not a free pass to say whatever you want to say. Not the asshole. Your sister sounds awful. You were doing your best for Jack, and it sounds like Annie is too. Annie is sick, and your sister needs to realize this. She didn't abandon your son. She made sure the baby was going to be cared for, and then went to care for herself. No one has the right to judge Annie, as they haven't been in her situation. I say you and Annie carry on as you are. It sounds like you both want the best for everyone, and push your sister and her nasty mouth out of your life. It's attitudes like your sister's that make it hard to have mental illness. Even after working to get better, she is still shitting all over her. Not the asshole. And now, on to the update. Appreciate all the words and advice on my last post. There has been some new changes regarding the situation that happened before with my sister and Annie, so decided to leave a little update. Many of you were right about my sister's negativity possibly affecting the relationship between Annie and Jack. It's also reassuring to know that we were making the right call here. The last thing I wanted was to make Annie feel bad for things that were out of her control. At first, when I talked to my sister, we got nowhere. I even brought up what some of you said here. Would she feel the same if Annie had been in the hospital getting treatment for cancer or some other physical disease/illness? My sister claimed that that's not the same thing, and we had to have a deeper conversation on why it is exactly the same thing. Annie was not in the right place mentally to be a fit parent, and she decided to get help. There was no need for her hostility towards Annie now that she's gotten the treatment she needs, and we're taking steps to bring her back into Jack's life. My sister and I still didn't see eye to eye, so that's when I made the decision that she wouldn't be allowed around us for a while, and stuck with the same condition that I made in my original post. We didn't talk for almost 2 months, then I guess my sister finally realized I wasn't gonna budge, so she agreed that she'd be more nicer to Annie and won't talk badly about her in front of Jack. Thought this meant that things would turn around, but unfortunately, it didn't end that way. Even after giving her a second chance, she still couldn't hold back from sending a message to Annie, letting her know that she's only doing this for me. But she will never be okay with her. She called her a terrible mother, among other things. She was counting on Annie not to show me this, since it would cost her son his aunt, like it said in her message. Oh yeah, I was pissed. Another talk with her later, I decided she is not having any contact with us at all. As much as it pains me, I can't have that kind of negativity around my son or his mother. Their relationship has been rebuilding nicely, and this is a crucial time for all of us. We don't need the extra drama. On a positive note, Jack has really warmed up to his mum, and it's a beautiful sight to see. I'm happy Annie is getting somewhere with him, and they seem to be getting closer every day. So, not all bad news, right? Thanks again, Reddit, for the help. You guys really helped ease my mind with this situation. Least don't feel like an asshole anymore for making the right choice. In the comments, no matter how things go with his mum, it sounds like you are putting your son's happiness and safety first. You are doing an amazing job. OP replies, he always comes first to us, and thank you. Glad to hear. Great news, and keep toxic people out. You're a really good person for stepping up, recognizing that mental health issues and mental health care is the same as physical care, and picking your son over your sister by defending the mother of your child. I'm so sorry your sister doesn't take mental health seriously, but this is a lovely update to see that Annie is getting better and is able to have a healthy relationship with Jack. I'm sure knowing that you were supporting her is incredibly helpful for both her and Jack. OP replies, it is very unfortunate. Annie wanted to be there for our son, but she couldn't until she got the help that she really needed. I don't see that any different from getting treatment for something physical that would prevent her from being around. Agree entirely. Your analogy to a physical injury/illness is spot on. Most importantly, Annie was wanting to get better and just needed support. She wasn't trying to dip out for the sake of it. My sister is turning into the biggest bridezilla, and I can't stop laughing. So, a little background. I'm the second youngest of 5 kids. My older siblings are 2 brothers and 1 older sister, who we will call E for the purposes of this post. E and I have a 5-year age gap. As a result, we never really had that sisterly bond you would expect most sisters to have. Growing up, I was always a burden to her, and any time it was my turn to pick the family movie, or really anything, she would get upset. The reason being that she had control issues as early as 9. So I'm guessing you can already see where I'm going with this. I'm currently 18, about to turn 19, and E turned 24 earlier this year. Her boyfriend A proposed to her at a family beach day earlier in June of this year. It was one of those big white letters and rose petals proposals, which he set up before my family arrived. She was thrilled, said yes, and my parents were very happy, along with my older siblings. The youngest is 4, so I don't think she understood what was happening. Now, here is the drama. Since the proposal, she has gone into full bridezilla mode. At the behest of my mum, E made me a bridesmaid, so I'm roped into all the BS. So far, these are the demands that my dear sister has made. 1. All bridesmaids are to pay for their own dress, a $300 dress in blush pink, shoes, hair, and makeup. 2. All bridesmaids need to attend all wedding and bachelorette events, including A. The Bachelorette Spa Day, $800 each, B. The Bachelorette Vacation Weekend to Toronto and stay at the Fairmont Hotel, $1,000 weekend just for the hotel. C. The dress appointments, even if just for the bride. All alterations covered by the person themselves. $300 dress, plus approximate $300 alterations, etc. D. All things to do with the wedding. Cake, venue, catering, etc. they need to attend. The cake and food tasting, they all need to pay $25. And E, the guests and the bride/groom party need to pay $150 to reserve their spots, and gifts have to be either cash, check, or from the list of registry items. She has a spreadsheet of what everyone is gifting, and has said that she will return items that aren't from her registry/match her theme. My mum says it's bride anxiety. I say it's just my sister trying to control everything because she wants a December wedding on a ski hill. Blair. Anyways, I figure if people are interested, I could update periodically on what happens. Thanks for reading. And edit, I realized I didn't include the controlling parts. My bad. Here they are. 1. All bridesmaids need to go to hair and skin appointments every 6 weeks to ensure that our hair and skin is flawless for pictures. It's out of pocket too. 2. Anyone with tattoos needs to cover them. Our dresses will do that. They go to the neck, ankles, and wrists. The bride wants to be the only one sleeveless / showing her tattoos and colorful hairstyle. Either we need to get our hair dyed to a natural color or wear a wig at our expense. 3. The dresses only come in sizes 00 to 10. Pretty good range for most, but those who don't fit are expected to try to lose weight. I'm a size 12 and already my sister is calling me fat. She sent me a keto diet book through Amazon. 4. No one, vendors, are to communicate directly to the bride / groom. It has to go through us first. She made a Gmail with last name wedding, which we all have access to, and we aren't supposed to ask her if something is okay. We should just know. This is the part that stresses Mom out. And 5. We need to remind the guests that they need to pay a deposit of $150 to save their spot, and if we don't get it, they don't come. We also need them to confirm that they'll purchase from the registry or the dollar amount that they'll give. In the comments, Bridezilla or not, she sure is selfish. These costs being expectations, I'd let your mum know that you need some money or you'd love to just be a guest. Even guests have to pay $150. There is not going to be anyone at this wedding, and it will be glorious. It seems like pay $150 and a gift. I hope that dude runs far away from this bride. Seriously about the groom, even if he's absent in the planning, he must be aware of some of these stipulations. How does he reconcile this insane, selfish behavior? Please drop out as a bridesmaid. Your mum can just say she can't control you. Tell your sister you love her, but due to commitments for school and finances, you won't be able to make her wedding the priority that it deserves. Say it without laughing. OP replies, "That's gonna be hard. I stress laugh." Tell your mum and sister that you won't participate until someone pays all of your costs. Your mum should not try to keep the peace when your sister is a raging harpy. I hope her fiancé backs out. OP replies, "He won't. He loves her spice." He's a very calm man though, so they match really well. He's the only one who can calm her down. He says he loves her spice. I say he is comfortable enabling her to be the controlling, obnoxious one. Out of this whole damn family, how is it that the 18-year-old is the most reasonable, mature, and balanced? I don't know how you escaped the cycle, OP, but I'm proud of you. No matter how this whole wedding thing plays out, it shall pass and life will go on. Just keep being true to you and your values. OP replies, "I spend a lot of time with my aunt who dislikes my mum. They have sibling rivalry too. Honestly, if your aunt is legitimately in your corner, then you should ask her for advice. Don't listen to family that doesn't care about your feelings." Back up to the post, edit 2. Y'all are making me realize my family isn't normal. I'm going to look into therapy with my uni and seeing if I can move into residence earlier. I want to thank the person who private messaged me about getting my mum off my bank account and also get my birth certificate, etc. I think I'm going to do that after I talk to the people at the bank. I texted my mum, as I'm at work right now, if her, dad, and I can talk about it while sister is gone to her fiancé's for the night. I'm hoping to show my mum and dad this post to help them understand where I'm coming from. Edit 3, I'm going to take some time away from this alt, just because a lot of you are right. This isn't normal. Our relationship as a family is not normal. I called my aunt while I was at work. For those of you who don't know, she's my godmother, and she thinks my mum is nuts. And we talked about it. She's encouraged me to talk to my parents about everything, not only the wedding, but favoritism, etc. since childhood, and she's also on standby in case things go to crap. My shift at work finishes in a few more hours, then I'll go home and pack a quick bag of stuff for my aunt to grab before my parents and I talk. And now, on to the update. First, I wanted to apologize for how long this has taken. My parents originally planned to talk that night, but Mum said she wasn't feeling good and decided to go to sleep early at around 6 p.m. and that feeling stayed for a while. We then got busy moving my sister into her fiancé's place, and by the time everything settled, my parents forgot we had something to discuss and kinda brushed it off to the side. We finally had the conversation 2 days ago, and I needed a day to think and just react to things. So without further ado, here is the update. So, turns out my dad never knew the whole story, as he knew he was responsible for paying for my sister's dress and a portion of the wedding or honeymoon. The reason for this is that my parents told me, and Dad confirmed with bank records, that my parents had been setting up $25,000 accounts for myself and each of my siblings. The rule was that these accounts could be used for anything once we turned 19 and went off to post-secondary. It was our money to use. I just turned 19, and my dad was getting ready to sign the money over to me when we had this conversation, which caused a bit of a blow-up. But right now, I need to give some background info that I was given. Right after sister got engaged, she apparently had a conversation with my mum about how she always felt like the child left out. She has used this line before, so I do believe that my mum felt for it and was guilt-tripped. As a result of a very long conversation, my mum figured that she could divert some of the funds from all of the kids' accounts to pay for my sister's wedding. And for those wondering, my 2 older brothers are in the military. They are not married yet, and they live on base. They never used their $25,000 because the Army in Canada pays for your education, housing, etc. So my mum had $50,000 at her disposal. Then, combined with my sister's and my $25,000, it would have been $100,000. Mum figured that because I had $17,000 saved up, she could just give me my $25,000 later for a car or a house payment or wedding. Bleh. Sister did this because, again, she is a master manipulator. Side note, thank you to the wonderful Redditors who sent me to various subreddits for narcissism and support, along with those who sent articles on it to me. And possible narcissist. She used some of my mum's mental and physical health conditions against her. When I was born, Mum went through very bad PPD, resulting in her leaving to a treatment facility for 4 months, leaving my sister, 2 brothers, me, and Dad behind. My older brothers were 9 and 7 at the time, and me only a few months. Sister, for reference, was 5 or just shy of 5. I honestly don't care to calculate. Since my brothers were trouble, my dad and his brother, my uncle, had his hands full. And a live-in nanny did all the stuff for me, so my sister had my aunt, who lived with us at the time, and got little to no attention from Dad at an age where attention is important. I think that triggered the bad sides of her to come out. While the nanny did help sister with basics, food, water, bath, clothes, a little play, she wasn't a replacement for Mum. Even my aunt wasn't a replacement for Mum despite her being there mainly for sister and sleeping in the same bed as her, helping her with homework, having girls' trips, etc. When Mum came back, sister had a huge grudge, but not to Mum, to me. I was the reason Mum left, which led her trying to smother me with a pillow. Mum caught her in time, and it was a funny story for us as a family. Turns out, that is a coping mechanism. Over my childhood, sister has used manipulation to get what she wants, and she did it for the wedding too. Mum felt bad and decided to give her little dove everything that she desired. Common things I heard growing up were, "You always give me XYZ, I want this," proceeds to have a meltdown. As sister grew up, it wasn't little toys and candy anymore, but girls' trips. As a result of this, Dad and I grew very close. He is my best friend. My sister and I had a decent relationship when I was 12 to 14, but it again changed when Mum got pregnant with my youngest sister. It was an accident, and I became the target again for sister's rage and abuse. While I know that it doesn't excuse a lot of things, I figured that it would be important to give you the whole story, since I forgot some very important details in my last post, which I added later. A day after sister moved out, I asked my mum and dad to please finally have the convo with me. Mum was feeling better, so we sat down and we are talking. I told them how I felt, how much of a financial toll it would be on me, how it wasn't fair, etc. Well, Dad blew up. He didn't know about the $100,000 or the things that sister was doing, etc. He didn't like the fact that Mum used a lot of "your father and I agree" talk, even though they hadn't. I showed group chat screenshots. We worked through the wedding issue. I don't have to attend, and the $25K for me issue, Dad is signing it over early. Then I was asked to go to my room for a bit because Dad and Mum wanted to talk. They settled the budget issue on their own. Dad then asked why I didn't feel comfortable to talk to them earlier, so I showed them this post. My dad snapped. He immediately called my sister and told her to come here ASAP because he needed to talk to her and would not accept excuses. She said she would be here in 4 hours because she was with fiancé and his parents. Dad pressed, and she hung up and blocked him. Dad told me to go to my room once again, but to leave my phone so they could go over the post and see the comments. I don't know exactly what happened, but Mum came to talk to me later. She then told me about the PPD, etc. I didn't know about it earlier, and we solved our issues, and I finished by asking if sister would go to therapy. Because Mum's convinced that the 4-month leave caused this stuff in her, Mum said she would try but can't force. I told her if sister doesn't go, I'm going no contact with her and possibly low contact with Mum. Dad then joined the convo and assured me that I would get my money, and I wouldn't have to go to the wedding if I didn't want to. Since sister is charging $150 per guest, she can pay for her grandiose wedding through that. Soon-to-be brother-in-law and his family aren't paying for crap, apparently, so they now have to, or sister doesn't get to have her ski hill wedding. Speaking of the $150 fee, you were right. It was sister who concocted the whole thing and told Mum that it was an Italian thing. We talked to sister's mother-in-law when she dropped sister off. Sister doesn't drive, and mother-in-law was shocked that sister had said that. There is apparently a money dance, but no $150 fee. So, on to what happened when sister came back. She came after 5 hours, and while mother-in-law was there, she was sweet as pie. But when mother-in-law left, oh Lord, the gates to hell broke loose. She demanded to know why Dad disturbed the peaceful evening and demanded he drive her back. Dad said that he didn't care and to sit down. She refused, they fought. Finally, she sat down after Dad started pulling out various tricks, including money or telling mother-in-law about sister's true nature, which I guess fiancé hadn't seen much of. I was excused to my room again. There was a lot of angry yelling back and forth, and a lot of manipulation from sister, including threats of low contact or no seeing possible grandkids in the future. She was trying to get Mum to go back to original plan, 100K plan, and Mum and Dad weren't budging. The fighting continued and stopped when Dad yelled, saying Mum isn't her punching bag and her PPD was not her fault, and if she was that angry about it, then go to therapy. After that, I was called back down, and we went over all the issues, starting with the keto book. Sister tried to defend, saying that I was fat and lazy, but Dad defended me. Sister started to cry, and Mum told Dad to be a little softer, which he did. We finally discussed everything, and I felt like part of the family instead of like a punching bag. Sister eventually got an Uber and left because she was being attacked. We are going to wait until Christmas time when brothers are back in town so we can all discuss what we need as a family to go forward and to be healthy. But it will most likely be therapy or cutting sister out. Mum and Dad are still figuring out the full budget issue with my sister's in-laws. My parents told them that for such a wedding to happen, everyone would need to contribute. In-laws agreed that $100,000 for a wedding is insane. Last I heard, sister will get her $15K for the wedding, which is basically $5K because $10K dress, since it's already ordered. The other $10K is being held for something tangible. And then her in-laws are being generous and helping with $15K. 10 to wedding, 5 to honeymoon. As for my schooling, Dad and I are going to the bank tomorrow and we're going to pay the cancellation fee for the loan that I had to take out. The loan only officially starts when I start school, so thankfully the cancellation fee is very small. My dad is paying for the fee because he admits that I should have never had to have taken the loan out. My parents agreed that my first year of university, along with housing costs, will not come out of the budget, the $17K or the $25K, so they will pay themselves. The full amount that they budgeted for me is going to be transferred into something called a TFSA for later in life. Well, Mum and I still have a somewhat rocky relationship. Sister absolutely hates me. She blamed me for everything and said that I have caused irreparable damage to her relationship with her fiancé and her in-laws. Because of this, she has banned me from the wedding and from her life. I honestly don't care. I don't really see it as losing a sister, I see it as losing a bully. I made a promise to my mum and dad that I would never treat my younger sister like that, and I'm going to be the role model that she deserves, and I'm going to be her protector like my brothers and father were for me. I think I covered everything that needs to be covered, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them. I am very thankful for the subreddit for teaching me what a real family is about, and for teaching me about boundaries and communication. Have an amazing life, you gorgeous humans. In the comments, so happy for you. Awesome that your dad took responsibility after he found out what was happening. Family therapy, regardless if your sister is part of it, would still be a good idea, I think. Still a big fan of your aunt who was willing to step up, but I'm also team dad now, and right now it seems like you and your mom are on a better path. And you vowing to be the sister to the little one that you would have deserved makes me teary-eyed. So please hold on to that promise and continue being awesome. And OP replies, I will. She deserves a sister, and same with me. Sisterhood is for life. My aunt is my mum's sister, and it's crazy to think they are so different. In case OP's mum ever gets to read this, you failed as a mother. OP replies, she tried her best. My 2 older brothers, myself, and my younger sister are decent humans. It's just sister who went wild after mum went off the deep end. Your mum enables her due to unfound guilt, and your mum needs therapy. OP replies, she is in therapy now. And now onto the 3-month post update. Hey everyone, figured I would update you since it's been a very long time. I apologize, I lost the login to this account, but I just found it. So onto the update. Family therapy is going really well. My 2 brothers were given temporary leave to come back to Canada. They were both stationed overseas for a bit. I believe they have to go back after this to help the process along. Our family is getting back on track, and my mum and I are closer than ever. It honestly feels like I have my best friend back. As for my sister, honestly, I don't know what's going on with her. A friend of mine still follows her on social media, and everything seems well. The wedding was moved up to November 26th instead of December 17th like she originally planned. Her and her fiancé have bought a place. Apparently, and this is rumors, she's pregnant. She has cut all of us off, and her fiancé's family is talking crap about us, but we are holding strong. In other, more exciting news, I am loving Ottawa. I go back home once a month for in-person therapy, but I also have 3 virtual sessions monthly. On top of that, my oldest brother is getting married. So while I lost a terrible sister, I gained an amazing sister. She is so sweet, texts me every couple of days, gets me Uber Eats orders when I'm down despite being provinces away. She is so sweet. She asked if I would feel comfortable being her maid of honor. She's an only child and her mum passed away, and I agreed. So by this time next year, I'll have an official new sister. There is not a whole lot else to say, but I also have a boyfriend. He's in the army too, I couldn't get away from it I guess, and very supportive and loving. Our 6-month anniversary is in January, and I'm looking forward to it. Anyways, thank you so much Reddit. You are all amazing, beautiful, soulful humans, and I hope you all have prosperous, healthy, and fruitful lives. I love you all. In the comments, I'm glad therapy is helping you and your family. At least you aren't a part of your older sister's drama anymore. Not only that, but it sounds like you have an awesome future sister-in-law. OP replies, I don't even refer to her as my sister-in-law. I say she's my sister. She's honestly the best, and I hope she gets to be a mum one day. She has PCOS, which is apparently a fertility problem, but she would be an amazing mother. And now onto the final update. Hello everyone. A lot of people wanted to know what happened at the wedding yesterday, so I shall provide the update. My family and I were banned from going, but my cousins and friends in her now husband's family filled me in. So not a whole lot happened at the ceremony. The MOG, mother of groom, showed up in an off-white dress, and a few people brought their kids despite it being a child-free ceremony, but no true drama happened until the reception. I somewhat feel bad for my sister because of this, but the MOG invited one of the groom's exes. I guess to hope that it would break them up, but it didn't work. She tried to get between my sister and her now husband, but her husband, and I give him props for this, told her to leave. Honestly, all around it wasn't dramatic. They made it to the altar and are leaving for their honeymoon today or tomorrow. But one thing that was confirmed is my sister is definitely pregnant. At the end of the wedding speeches, the groom said this with a slideshow, and the last slide was an ultrasound picture and baby last name due June 2023. Sorry it isn't much of an update. In the comments, sister and sister's mother-in-law are going to have some epic effing battles. Sounds like she found a new family where she fits right in. That mother-in-law is going to be her own karma. It's probably why the groom fell for Bridezilla in the first place. Gosh, she reminds me of my mother. I mean, it's a funny joke and all, but I guarantee he has all sorts of issues that he probably isn't even slightly aware of. And the kid is the one who's going to therapy for all of it 20 years from now. The wedding wasn't dramatic? Bruh, the mother-in-law came in a white dress and brought over the groom's ex without anyone knowing? Ma'am? I don't know. I think given the rest of the story, OP's drama meter is way off. Her sister tried to murder her as a baby. She's probably just normalized the insane level of chaos. And then it became a funny family anecdote. I actually gasped out loud at this whole part, like a 5-year-old tried to murder her sister, and the family's like, oh, remember that funny time your sister tried to murder you? Lol, what a crazy little kid she was. The mother got off easy. She literally planned to steal all her kids' rightful money to give to her golden child. Where is her accountability? Right? That's the sort of thing that would make me question my whole marriage to this crazy woman, and we're just glossing over that? Mom probably still feels guilty for leaving her children for 4 months due to her PPD. OP probably understands this and knows just how insanely cruel and manipulative her sister is to play on her mom's lingering guilt. Would I be the asshole if I attended my best friend's wedding? I, female 24, have been best friends with Andrew, male 24, since kindergarten. It's always been me and him against the world. We've had other friends throughout our lives and been part of different circles, but we've always been each other's number one. Things got tricky when we joined the dating pool. Some of my boyfriends would oftentimes get jealous of the bond we shared. Obviously to us, it was always purely platonic, but in our small town, a male and female friendship as close as ours was unconventional. Andrew started dating Jess in April 2019, and they are due to get married in January. I am extremely happy for them, and am looking forward to having little babies to spoil. However, I recently found out through mutual friends that Jess does not like me. Jess was telling my friend that she has always felt insecure about me and Andrew's friendship and thinks that I have feelings for him. It was my first time hearing about this. She has always been nice and sweet when we've met up, so this came out of the blue for me. Our mutual friend advised me to not attend the wedding as to not ruin Jess's special day. I've been thinking about not going, but I was named Andrew's best man alongside his brother, and I don't want to bail on him or hurt his feelings by not attending. So, would I be the asshole if I attended my best friend's wedding? In the comments, not the asshole. As I was reading your post, I was thinking, go if you get an invite. Now that I read you are Andrew's best man, you should absolutely go. The wedding likely isn't going to change your dynamic. I have somebody in my life similar to Andrew. She is absolutely wonderful, and my life is so much better because she is in it. In no way am I competitive to her relationship. In many ways, I think I make it better. They are going to have to learn how to make decisions as a couple, and you are one of them. If you're unsure, ask them both to dinner and talk about it. Right? Also, next time you and Andrew hang out, invite her along. Get her used to the fact that you're in his life and are not going anywhere. She might just start trusting you. Not the asshole. Can't Andrew and Jess talk about it and find a solution? Seems like they should communicate soon and clearly. Absolutely. Andrew wants OP there. If Jess has an issue with that, that's between them. OP shouldn't be losing sleep over her bestie asking her to be a best person. Seems natural that he would ask that. I wonder if Jess is trying to avoid a difficult conversation with Andrew by circumventing him and using the mutual friend to get OP out of the picture. She doesn't just want OP's relationship with her fiancé to lessen in intensity, which might be reasonable, she wants her gone. Maybe. But also maybe the mutual friend is just a gossip who speculated or blew an offhand comment from Jess way out of proportion. I'd caution OP not to overreact and not to cast Jess as the jealous girlfriend without more than a side comment from a third party. Not the asshole. Have a talk with Andrew about it and see what he says. It is important that he's made aware of crap too, you know? Yeah, this is definitely something Andrew should be made aware of. Regardless of the genders of the friends or a potential sexual aspect to it, people should always be made aware that their potential spouse is putting pressure, intentionally or not, on their friends to not attend their wedding or even just not liking their friends. That's definitely something that needs to be addressed before the wedding. And now, onto the update. Thank you so much to everyone who replied and gave me some things to think about in my previous post. I'm very happy to inform everyone that this is a happy update and things thankfully didn't escalate. I reached out to Andrew and talked with him privately about what I'd heard, and he was also as taken aback as I was, given that Jess had not mentioned anything to him either. I asked for him not to mention it to Jess and instead chose to talk to her myself. We had lunch at my apartment, and she did confide in me about some insecurities she had felt about my friendship with her fiancé. I was more than happy to reassure her that he was nothing more to me than a little brother. We also established more boundaries so she feels more secure. We also talked about what our mutual friends said, and Jess did talk to her about how she was feeling, but she never asked or even mentioned my participation in the wedding. I did offer to back out of the wedding party, but she insisted that it wasn't necessary, and both her and Andrew wanted me there. I did take some people's advice, and me and Jess will have a girls' night every Friday. It's important to me to be able to be even closer with her, and I want to be able to put any of her worries to rest. As for some criticism in my last post about me saying me and Andrew were each other's number one, I can assure you all that I meant it in, we'll have other friends, but we'll always be each other's number one friend. I know my place in Andrew's life, and I am in no way trying to be, or will I ever be, above his future wife. In the comments, finally, I get to read about mature behavior. This is how one is supposed to act. If there's a problem, address it with the person. Talk it out in a non-confrontational manner. Thanks for setting an example for other readers to follow. OP, you handled this so maturely. Your BFF was mature about it, and so was his wife. I'm so happy for all of you. Their future kids are going to be so lucky to have you as an auntie, that's from my culture, in their lives. Thanks for a lovely update. Great update. My husband also had a female best friend when we met. I decided I could be jealous, or I could be friends with her as well. I've been married for over 2 decades, and she's still my best friend. Her and I talk and hang out together much more than they do these days. I'm an aunt to her kids, and she's an aunt to mine. Our families have even vacationed together some years. Mature adults can make this work. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for outing my ex as gay to get his mother off my back? It's a long and sucky story, but my 25 female, soon-to-be ex, 28 male, is gay and hid that from me. I found out because I caught him cheating, and he as much as admitted that he knew that he wasn't attracted to me that way, but he wanted kids and a normal life. I don't care that he's gay, but I will never forgive him for leading me on so that he could use me to have kids, so it's over, end of story. The problem is that his family are fundamentalist nutjobs, except for a few members, and his mother is the interfering mother-in-law from hell. Not being related to her anymore is another plus to leaving. His family doesn't believe in divorce, so under the guise of picking up some paperwork and other items I'd found that were my ex's, she's cornered me about how I'm being childish and marriage is about commitment, forgiveness, and working through problems, etc. It became apparent that my ex didn't tell his family that he cheated. He told his mum that I was divorcing him because we weren't having sex often enough for me. I tried to be patient and explained that he had cheated, and that's why. I wasn't going to go into greater detail because I know how his parents are, and it's none of their business. Mother-in-law's advice, I kid you not, was that men are just the way they are, and that if I wanted to have sex more and for him not to stray, that I should make myself more attractive to my husband and be a better wife. I lost the plot completely. It had been a sad and hard day already, and that was the last straw. Here is where I might be the asshole. I told her that the only thing that would make me more attractive to my ex would be a sex change operation, and that I hoped that he and his boyfriend adopted her some grandchildren so she could finally shut the hell up about it. Not my finest moment, but she just hit the worst and rawest nerve that she could have, and I exploded. It's evidently turned into a huge family drama. He's probably going to be disowned, and my ex called sobbing that I've ruined his life out of spite. I don't really know how to feel about it. I do feel bad for him that his parents are such awful people, and there were just no good outcomes for him. But I also feel like he made his own bed here too. Edit, a couple of things from comments. 1, there is almost no chance of violence. His family are fundies, but not violent ones. They're more of the Mormon shunning type. One of his cousins came out and left the church, and after the initial protests, they all just stopped talking to him and basically treated him as if he were dead until he was ready to repent or whatever. They're passive-aggressive, repressed, and weird as all get out, but the chances of anyone physically hurting him are extremely low. He's not financially dependent on them, and has more than a decent job, so he can support himself easily if they kick him out. And 2, he has known he was gay since before he met me. So this wasn't a new discovery or admission to himself. He has a boyfriend that he has been dating since 6 months before we were married. I went through his computer after catching them in the act and kicking him out, and found messenger logs and other evidence going back to before he started dating me. He literally set this up so he could have the nice Mormon family on the surface to keep his family happy. That's it. He never loved me at all. I was just the first girl to express a sustained interest. In the comments, probably unpopular opinion, but not the asshole. You got pushed into a corner and blamed for the demise of the relationship, which was ultimately because of his dishonesty. You didn't do it maliciously, and he wasted years of your life for selfish reasons, and I personally could never forgive that. Edit, OP was being constantly harassed, blamed, and basically defamed because her ex blamed her for everything. It wasn't malicious to out him, and he should have taken more accountability for his role in all of this. Edit 2, the fact that he plainly stated that he only married her to have a kid is beyond disturbing, and automatically makes him the asshole, no questions asked. You do not dehumanize a person and treat them as a breeding animal for your own purposes because of your hidden sexuality. Inexcusable. I think this is where I am. All he had to do was tell his family that it wasn't working, and they made their decision. Instead, he let them drag her to save himself. I think I agree too. This is one of those situations where I could imagine kinder ways for the OP to have handled the situation. For example, warning her ex on no uncertain terms to get his family off her back before telling them the truth. And even that's assuming that he just wouldn't preemptively make up worse lies about her. But in the real world, I can't really fault her for just defending herself in the moment. It sucks that his family is intolerant, but that's not the OP's fault. And it's also not her fault that she was in a position to feel like she had to defend herself. Her ex put her in that spot by trying to save face at her expense. Not the asshole. Edit to add, a more controversial take, you also could consider the OP outing her ex as a huge favor to his next would-be incubator. Agreed. He doesn't get to use women as broodmares just because he's closeted. Honestly, it could be a favor to the ex as well, even if he can't see that in the moment. He's living a lie because of his family. Maybe he'll be able to be happy with his boyfriend in the future because there is no longer a chance of pleasing his family. I'm by myself, and I certainly wouldn't want to be outed. But if you have a big, giant secret and someone else knows it, maybe don't treat them like crap and sick your family on them. That's just dumb. Like, who would keep your secret under those circumstances? Not the asshole. It is a kind and greater good thing to try not to out the person, as it can be physically dangerous, but he also hasn't really earned any kindness from you. He's the asshole that A, cheated, and then B, lied about the reason why to his parents, leading to his mum harassing you. And he's also the asshole that was planning on essentially tricking you into a lifelong commitment, while he likely would have been cheating the whole time had he not gotten caught now. So yeah, you are not the asshole. OP replies, yeah, He's been cheating on me for the entirety of our relationship and has a boyfriend that he's been with longer than we'd been married. He literally intended to use me for kids and to keep his parents off his tail, and he made me feel like I was the reason we were having sexual issues in the marriage when it was him the entire time. And now, on to the update. I don't think it was worth bothering the whole Am I the Arsehole sub about, and some people seem to think that it was a fake post or something, which I guess I can understand because Lord knows that I would have a hard time believing this could happen to me before it happened. But some folks asked how things were going, and I don't have a lot of places to talk openly about what's happening for obvious reasons, so I thought this might be a good way to get some stuff out of my head and update those who wanted to know at the same time. I'm grateful for all the different opinions. I'm so conflicted about the situation myself. It helps to see other people's reasoning and values on the subject. I feel like I can't trust my mind right now, and this thread has helped me make some peace and move on. I've finally gotten radio silence from my ex's immediate family after the incident with my mother-in-law, so that's a relief. I work at the same place with a couple of his extended family members, so I still have to see them, but they haven't brought it up. They all know to contact me only through my lawyer now, and everything big that belongs to my ex has been passed on already. So anything else can be forwarded through the legal office now. I shouldn't have to interact directly with them, but it's hard to avoid people forever in a small town. My ex tried to break into the house the day that I posted the story while I was at work, and I pressed charges. I don't know how that's going to shake out, or why he's doing this when it can only get him in worse trouble, but I'm letting my lawyer and the police handle it, and I'm staying with my parents for a little while until I feel safer. I don't know what's happened between him and his family, and I don't want to try and find out. My ex, and I guess his family before the fight with the mother-in-law, spread rumors about me, and it's made living here very hard. It's a smallish community, and people treat me differently now. The local stake president has been kind, and, after being told about the cheating, with no mention of orientation, said he would try and help with the rumors. I don't want to leave the area, but I'm thinking that I may need to, at least for a while, after the legal stuff is over. My lawyer and I have decided to go for annulment, since that will take less time and be harder to fight in this case. Hopefully the ex won't contest it. I'm glad that we never combined finances. There won't be too many joint assets to sort out. I'll be okay financially still. This could have been much worse if I was a stay-at-home mother or something. I'm going to start therapy soon. I was thinking about it anyway, even before this all came out, because I've been feeling depressed over how things were working in my marriage for a while. I don't want to lose any more of myself and my time than I already have, and I hope one day I'll feel good enough to start dating again. Right now, I don't know. Even thinking about it hurts. A couple of things that I wanted to comment on from responses to the post. I am Mormon, although an inactive one for much of my life, and I don't want the entire LDS church to be painted with this brush. My ex and his family aren't typical, though I know there are people like that out there. Also, please don't generalize about gay people because of my story. There are LGBTQ people close to my heart, and they would never do this to anyone. I don't believe that outing people is generally okay, or I wouldn't feel so bad about all of this. My ex's family set this up with their intolerance. I wish none of it had happened, for me, and for him too. Takeaway, I guess, is don't out people if you can possibly avoid it. Even if some people see it as justified in the circumstances, it's not good and it doesn't feel good. My name is a little bit clearer, and I'm not being directly harassed anymore, but that's it. Now I get to figure out the next step. In the comments, this is absolutely the brush with which the LDS Church continues to paint themselves. Yours isn't the first story of Mormons marrying to hide their sexuality from the church, nor will it be the last. The LDS is a Puritan, controlling, and vile money-making cult parading as a church. Seriously, they siphon $7 billion a year from their members. I encourage you to share your story at r/xmormon. You'll be surprised how common stories like yours are. OP, your situation is different from outing someone. You were being harassed, defamed, and probably emotionally abused. If your ex had any respect or love for you, he would not have lied to make you seem bad as the reason for his divorce. Not only that, your ex could have been honest from the start or found himself someone to be his beard, or basically any other option than lie to you every day in your relationship. Maybe moving far away would be good for you. See new places, meet new friends, not be trapped in a small community of religious, small-minded people who forget the basic thing about Christianity: love one another. It may suck to leave your home, but it seems to be suffocating to live there. Wherever you go build yourself a better, happier life. I'm sorry this has happened to you. You're not the asshole. His mother was literally harassing you. And after all the lying and the cheating, he wanted to make you look like the bad guy. Also, I wonder what happened to his boyfriend's wife, if you don't mind me asking. I saw your comment that said that his boyfriend is married. Does she know now that her husband is cheating on her? And OP replies, I contacted her to let her know what was going on so she could look after her health. She's in the same boat that I'm in, and I'm so heartbroken for her. They were married longer and have 2 kids. I sent her all the screenshots and pictures that I have, and she's trying to figure out what to do now. I've told her to reach out if she needs help or to talk. I can't believe they did this and even planned it out in advance. It makes me sick thinking about it. It was kind of a nuclear-level consequences story. He used her, she dumped him, he sicked his family on her, she told them to get away, they intensified, she dropped the truth bomb, he starts crying foul. If he at any time had chosen what was right over what was easy, things could have been so very different. Our next post is titled, VA. My son stole a rare toy from my brother. My brother is refusing to take it back and is threatening to get the police involved. What do I do? Right now, my brother is threatening to sue me for my son taking a figure from his collection and get the police involved. Here is the story. Last week, my brother invited me and my family over for dinner. While we were there, my son asked to see my brother's collection of toys and figures. My brother has spent a good deal of money on his collection, and from what I know, it's one of his biggest hobbies. Well, after dinner, we left and everything seemed normal. Well, until yesterday. My brother called me up furiously and told me that my little crap stole something from his collection and that I needed to return it immediately. I honestly was upset at this, but if my son had taken something, that was wrong, especially if it was from my own brother. Well, it turns out that my son slipped away during dinner and took a Boba Fett figure from his collection. He confirmed it because he has footage from his porch camera of him taking it out to our car. I was furious and took it from him. Here is the problem though. After I confirmed with my brother that it was his, I found out that my son had removed it from its packaging. Apparently this figure is worth almost $2,000 in its package and almost nothing out of it. So my brother broke down over the phone and refused to take it back before hanging up. Well, he just called me again today and said that he wanted me to pay for a replacement immediately or he will get the police involved and sue me. I told him that I would help him pay for one, but not fully, to which he said, not good enough, and hung up. Honestly, what are my options here? I can't afford to pay him back right now. If he does go to the police, will my son get arrested? He's only 15. It was very wrong of him to do, but I think my brother is overreacting. What can I expect if he does take me to court or call the police? In the comments, I'm not a lawyer, but can confirm that some of the figures do cost that much to replace. Your brother has every right to the full value of his item, whether it's in court or not. Your son did the wrong thing and should work hard to make it right. Returning what is now worthless is not the same. Would your brother and son be open to signing a payment agreement over a couple of years for the full value? My kid would be out getting a job to pay for this, but with working hour restrictions, it can take time to earn that much cash. While it may seem silly to you, as it's a toy, he's quite correct that toys still in the box are worth a lot more. While finances may be tough, your son damaged his property, and he can get back a value from that. Your best bet is to work out a payment system with him. Additionally, you can always try to find a replacement at a cheaper price. Also, if money is tight, I suggest you get your son to work and start paying this off. While first reading, I assumed you were talking about an actual kid, not a 15-year-old. Yes, your son can be arrested, and yes, you could be liable for the $2,000. Why do you think the brother is overreacting? Would you feel any different had your son stole $2,000 cash? OP replies, I completely understand why he's mad. His property was stolen. But we're family, and I think that it's a little overboard to threaten to call the police on your nephew. And now, onto the update. So I never honestly expected the post I made to get where it did. I also never expected the barrage of support and hate. I will say these past 48 hours have been a ride, and that post has not helped in any way. So, why am I back? Well, because I feel like I need to be. I'm not here to give some apology to a bunch of internet strangers for how I acted or to seek validation. I'm here because I feel that for myself, I need to admit my own wrongs and move on to a better place. So I want to talk about something first before I get into the update. Many people who responded talked about me or my brother in a bad light, and with how I reacted in the comments, it didn't help the situation. I was also hit pretty hard for how I was not taking my brother into consideration when talking about the issue. To give some context for this, me and my brother have never had a good relationship. We have never seen eye to eye, and after our father's death, he cut contact with me for a good amount of time. We're just different in some senses. He's a single, nerdy guy who has no aspiration for family, while I'm the exact opposite. In these past few years, we've tried to fix this. Work as adults to bring what little family we have back together. During our time apart, he began collecting old nerdy things, and I won't lie, I never understood the appeal. It is his life though, and he can do what he wants. So when my son stole and damaged his property, I didn't see how it was valuable to him, and I discounted it. So when he asked for $2,000 to fix it, I really didn't feel like it was worth it. Was this wrong of me? Maybe. I don't feel bad about defending my son, I only feel bad that I discounted my brother in the process. Sorry about that. Like I said, I don't want sympathy, I only wrote that out to allow myself to be true about the situation. Back to the updates. So after all was said and done, my family had pretty much been thrown into chaos. I had no idea what I was going to do, and after talking with my wife, we decided we would take many of your advice and have my son pay him back. We collected all the non-essentials he had and planned to sell them to raise funds. During this time, I got back into contact with my brother, and I wanted to talk this out to make sure this did not end badly. I offered to pay in full. Also, some people in the comments said that the figure was worth less, so I asked him. He had it professionally valued a few months ago when he bought it, and it was worth a total of $2,200. My brother said that he plans to not sue us. His renter's insurance apparently is willing to pay him the value that he has listed, but he would need to file a police report to get it. At first, we agreed not to go that route and simply pay him the value of it, or for a replacement if he could get it cheaper. This was the plan until last night. During the process of taking his things away, my wife found a conversation he had with a friend he has over the internet. It turns out that my son stole the figure to sell. He had Googled it while we were at my brother's house and found out how much it was worth and bragged to a friend that he was going to sell it at a pawn shop. He didn't realize that taking it out of the package would ruin it, so he ripped it out to hide in the car better. Suffice to say, I am not happy about this. I won't elaborate on this very much more, but me and my wife have decided that what is best for all of us is that we let him face the consequences of this. My brother is going to file a police report and collect money from insurance. Some may say that this is a bit harsh, but honestly, I think this might be for the best in the end. The way that my son actively stole from family to make a profit worries me, and I believe the only option that I can live with myself making is this. I will stand by my son till the end, but he needs to learn now before he is an adult. So thank you all for the advice. The support and hate are what I needed as a true wake-up call. Like I said, I don't need pity. I'm doing this so that I can be true to myself and maybe become a better parent in the end. In the comments, my brother stabbed 2 kids at the age of 15. He was a school bully. My parents stood by him and had his records expelled. Then at 24 and 25, he killed 2 men. Spent 8 years in jail and came home as a bully, but this time to my parents. Enable our kids with their bad behavior, and we suffer. Considering the way that OP writes about his brother, I'm not surprised the kid behaves that way or has no respect for uncle. Apple didn't fall far from the tree. 9 out of 10 times, when the kid sucks, it's because one of the parents suck. Just dismissing his brother as a nerd is so disrespectful. Not having kids and enjoying sci-fi doesn't make you a failure. Exactly the vibes that I have. I get dismissed for that too. I don't have kids because I don't want them, and I'll enjoy nerd stuff if, well, I enjoy it. As soon as I read about a 15-year-old stealing a figurine, I knew that it was about money. OP was acting like it was an 8-year-old stealing the toy because he thought that it was cool. OP sounds like a judgmental asshole too. Am I the asshole for calling every morning? So my son is a 20-month-old toddler, my wife is a stay-at-home mum, I work 6 days a week, and I'm usually gone for 12 hours a day. I always check in on my son remotely via our nursery cam app, and he's always awake in the mornings at around 8 o'clock. He has a great sleep routine. Our wind-down time starts at the same time every evening. We clean up toys, read a book, and when I lay him down, he's still awake. He falls asleep on his own and sleeps all night for at least 12 hours. It's usually after 9 o'clock before I have a chance to check the camera. This morning when I checked, it was 9:12, and some mornings are closer to 10 o'clock. Every time I look though, he's awake in the dark and standing in his crib just waiting. When I see this, I immediately turn on the brightest nightlight the camera has and speak to him through the camera app. I always tell him good morning and I love him, and he usually laughs and says, "Dada!" And then I leave the app and call my wife to wake her up. I usually have to call 3 to 4 times, and when she finally answers, it's obvious that she just woke up, and only because I called. I tell her that our son is awake waiting for her, and that she needs to get up and start their day. This morning, while on the phone, I asked her if she was going to get him after using the bathroom, and she said no. She was going to the kitchen to prepare their breakfast, and then she would get him. I asked her to get him after the bathroom so he could go to the kitchen with her, and she flipped out. She told me that it pisses her off that I call every morning to tell her how to be a mum and that she has a routine. I retorted with, "Well, your routine sucks because he's been awake for an hour and you'd still be asleep if I hadn't called." It just bothers me that he has to wait so long. He needs a diaper change. He's probably thirsty, hungry, and just wants to play. Am I wrong though? Do I need to stop? Please be completely honest with your answers. Thanks. In the comments, you're the asshole. I cannot imagine being a micromanaged mum like that, remotely. Wow. Is your son crying? No? Then he's fine. If he's uncomfortable, he will call for his mum. The kid's not going to cry if it's been normalized that he needs to wait in his crib for 1 to 2 hours. I totally agree with this. 1 to 2 hour wait is just sad. I hated reading this post. Your wife is a negligent mother. It is sad, not the asshole. She sounds lazy or like she has postpartum. Or like she needs more support and help. I've seen so many guys become ain't crap fathers because they think their wife isn't performing the way they expect. Dude's working 70+ hour weeks so his wife can stay home and she can't be bothered to get out of bed. And he does the bedtime routine, and the kid sleeps through the night so she doesn't have her sleep interrupted. You're the asshole. First, let's start with the fact that your kid is now into toddler range as opposed to infant. Your kid can manage a few moments alone in their crib and will still cry if they need any worthwhile attention. Secondly, let's say that she took the toddler with her while preparing the food. Your kid is now in learning escape methods, getting into crap, cause mischief stage. Let her get the food ready first. Thirdly, best intentions aside, if my husband was micromanaging my mothering, I'd blow a gasket from stress alone. Mums need what sanity remains to us, especially before entertaining a toddler for hours. Fourthly, there was zero indication of why you thought your son was up for an hour, which makes me think that it wasn't necessarily true, so much as you just wanted to add spice to the insult you slung at your wife. You chose her to be the mother of your child. Now let her do her job in peace. He clearly states that his son usually is awake by 8 o'clock and mum doesn't come get him until past 9 o'clock, sometimes as late as 10. That's not a few moments. Look, I don't believe a toddler sits that long without calling out themselves, but you're right, it is listed and I must have blanked it out. Toddlers have these nifty vocal cord things that go off when things aren't quite right. Could mum wake up earlier? Maybe. Is this the way to go about this conversation? Nope. Babies don't cry if they've been taught that no one is coming to soothe them. Leaving the child alone in the dark that long is ridiculous. Why can't she go grab him, say good morning, and set him up to watch her make breakfast? You know, learn actual life skills. He's clearly got the self-soothe thing down since he doesn't even bother calling out to his mum anymore. Well, why do you assume he isn't crying because he's used to nobody coming? In fact, the OP states that when the baby does start crying, that's when mum gets up. Why do people on this sub just make crap up so often? Write a fiction novel or something. And now, onto the update. I was banned from commenting within the first hour because I violated a rule in a comment, and that's why I wasn't responding to anyone. I'm a fairly new Reddit user in terms of posting. I normally read a lot, and that's all, and because of this, I had no clue that a temporary comment ban didn't affect my ability to edit the post. I would have edited the post much sooner had I known that I was able to, regardless of the comment ban. There are so many things that need to be addressed about this post, and the most important one is about my wife. I love her more than anyone on Reddit thinks I do. She is an amazing woman and a wonderful mother. I absolutely do not think she is an incompetent parent, nor do I think she neglects my son. None of the information I provided was ever supposed to convey that negative message about her. My whole issue was, he's awake, he's been awake, why are you still asleep? That's all. And she agreed that she stays up too late, plus has alarms set now. I showed my wife how this post exploded, and she could not believe the kind of attention that it got. She is very much in love with me and does not agree that I'm controlling, nor does she believe that I am micromanaging her daily life. Also, because many people believe that I intentionally left out the medical issues she has, I'll list them here. Postpartum depression, low vitamin B12, and chronic fatigue. Now, let me explain why I didn't list them originally. Her low vitamin B12 is not a deficiency. Her level is just lower than what's considered best for her age. This is according to recent blood work that I recommended. The results state that any number between 100 and 900 pg/ml is within normal range, and her level is 253 pg per ml. The doctor suggested sublingual B12 1000 mcg daily to raise the level up a little, but stated that apart from that, she could not find a reason for the chronic fatigue. Because of these results, and especially after purchasing the supplements, in my mind, the B12 is not a problem. Also, the blood work confirmed that everything else was normal. The postpartum depression is actively being monitored and treated by a professional. My wife literally goes to a psychiatrist or psychologist. I can't remember their exact title, multiple times a year, and we pay for medication every 30 days. She initially tried depression medication, followed the regimen religiously, and not much changed for her. This was addressed in a following appointment, and a new medication was prescribed. Her current medication is normally used to treat ADHD or narcolepsy, and the doctor believed that it would alleviate some of her tiredness and release more dopamine, thus providing more energy in her daily life. This does seem to be true, and she seems to be happy with the medicine. The chronic fatigue is a result of her own poor scheduling and personal health. She has agreed that she spends too much time sitting and using the phone. She naps when our son naps, and has trouble falling asleep at a normal bedtime hour due to this daytime sleep. We always go to bed together, and he's told me multiple times that she moved to the living room after I fell asleep because she couldn't fall asleep and was bored just lying there. Then, midnight or later comes, and she's finally drowsy and decides to sleep. However, the overstimulation from social media and phone usage makes it difficult for her brain to reach REM sleep normally, so she falls asleep at 12 o'clock. Our son wakes up at 8 o'clock, 8 hours have passed, and she still feels tired and not at all rested. I do know, and have known, about her condition. We agreed to disagree about the cause of her sleeping problems, and in her mind, she has chronic fatigue because of insomnia, and it's a vicious cycle. In my mind, she stays up too late on the phone and doesn't get the sleep that her body needs. Whether the internet thinks that she's a bad mother, negligent, lazy, or abusive is not important. I know and love the woman that I married. I do feel comfortable leaving her with our kid, and she does an amazing job with him. In a few comments, I stated that she was lazy and didn't do much at home. I won't deny those statements, but in the moment, I was still aggravated because the argument over the phone had just recently ended. I don't truly think that she's lazy because I've seen what she can do. I just think that she's unmotivated due to a lack of sleep and the same 4 walls every day. Finally, I am not spying on her or my son. We only have 2 cameras in this house, and both are in our son's room. One camera provides a wide-angle view of the entire room, and the other one is positioned directly above his crib. The cameras serve no purpose during the day because I'd barely be able to hear background noise from another room, even if I did try to listen in. My wife is an amazing woman and an amazing mother. My son is just so happy all the time. He is super smart, full of energy, and extremely healthy. I will not be hiring a nanny or using a daycare. There is absolutely nothing wrong with what my wife does during the day. I just wish she'd start her day earlier for my little man. I want to say thank you to everyone who commented on this post and messaged me. My wife and I had a long, in-depth conversation last night after all of the attention this post received, and I've shown her everything. There were tears, much more laughs, and a lot of things to think about. I think the most important thing we learned is that so many people are quick to judge, and that in itself is a very big problem. I need to make it clear that my wife does not have narcolepsy. She is not taking medicine for narcolepsy, and I said that the medicine she takes now is usually used to treat narcolepsy or ADHD. She also does not have ADHD. The second thing we learned is that people love to add details and change the story. In the comments, "My wife is amazing. I never intended to make her sound bad. But also, all my wife does is scroll through TikTok all day." Pretty much sums it up. Asshole in denial. He sounds awful to be married to. It's like he wants his wife to be more dependent on him, so he shit on her. If she does nothing but be on the phone all day, then honestly, she sounds just as bad. I have a hard time believing she does nothing. Maybe when he gets home, she hands off kid care and sits and scrolls on her phone for a break, but he wasn't complaining about the house being a mess, laundry piling up, dirt everywhere. I think she's doing a ton of work that he doesn't acknowledge or notice. If she's not waking up till 10 a.m. and that kid is sitting up for hours unattended, he has a dirty diaper from the night before, 100%, period. That kid is sitting in a nasty-ass diaper for hours, and that is incredibly unhealthy. I really dislike his belief that she doesn't actually have insomnia. As someone with insomnia, yeah, being on my phone probably doesn't help. But I can't just lie there wide awake for hours on end, hoping that I'll get to sleep. Doing that makes me stressed and anxious about how much time I have left to sleep, which in turn keeps me up later. Distracting myself by using my phone or reading or whatever allows me to become drowsy and actually fall asleep. Our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for snapping at my in-laws for saying my husband ruined his life?" For some context, my 36 female husband, also 36 male, comes from a family of athletes. They put him in boxing as a kid. He was talented and he suffered a lot of pressure from his family. They wanted him to become professional, but my husband never wanted that. In high school, things got worse for him as the school's coaches were brutal, and the attention he received from promoters and outside coaches led his family to put more pressure on him. The relationship with his family went south when he informed them he was going to university and giving up boxing for good. Not true the boxing part. I met him a month before we started high school, and we've been together ever since. When he was 30, his family contacted him to try to fix their relationship. Now, we took our children on Sunday to visit them. Sister-in-law and her husband were talking about one of my nephews learning to play the piano and that he's good for his age. Then mother-in-law said, and I quote, "Be careful. You don't want to encourage him only for him to quit and ruin his life, as husband has." It seemed like mother-in-law forgot that I was there, and they went silent. My husband was currently out buying some things with his father and his other 2 brother-in-laws. I was calm and asked her how he ruined his life. His sisters got involved and said that's not what mother-in-law meant, and I wouldn't understand. I replied, "No, I don't understand. I don't understand why you wanted to live through him, why you never listened to him, why you never accepted what he wanted, why you didn't let him be, why you think he ruined his life. I don't get it. If you think it's because I don't know how talented he was, you're wrong, because I was there, even when you abandoned him. It wasn't for nothing that he got 2 scholarships and people were after him. I'd understand if he didn't do anything with his life, but that's not the case. He has a degree, an amazing career, built 2 different businesses, is a great father and a husband. He is more successful than all of you combined. Please tell me how he ruined his life, or what part I don't understand." I got silence. I took our children and I left. I texted my husband that I was going home. He arrived shortly after, and I told him what happened, and he's not mad. To be honest, this is the first time I heard these types of comments, and I pretty much blew the relationship that he has with his family, and apparently also caused issues with his sister's husbands because they had a different version of why my husband was estranged. In the comments, "Not the asshole. Mother-in-law was patronizing your husband's life choices, and you stomped on her with the truth." Info. So the sisters were lying to their spouses about your husband? OP replies, "Pretty much. My husband talked to them yesterday, and apparently his sisters told their husbands that my husband just quit his sport and left the family. The family that supposedly supported and encouraged him to succeed, but the reality is different. It looks like them sisters have some explaining to do, lol. Problem with lying is that you have to keep telling lies to back up the first lie. It just snowballs. I mean, in their minds, it's probably not even lies. It doesn't sound like the family listens to the husband or considers his preferences, so in their mind, yeah. He went nuts one day and left the sport, and the family all of a sudden. Not the asshole. Good on you. I played volleyball competitively through high school and was offered several scholarships to play at great schools. I was burnt out, and I wanted to focus on my degree. My parents were not okay with me turning down the volleyball scholarships, and then my mum told me that I would not get my college fund, which I know is a privilege on its own, unless I attended state school near her. Guess who dropped out of the school to move away from her parents after a year? Guess who went no contact with them for a year? And guess who is proudly finishing up her biology degree at 34? You did a wonderful job of advocating for and defending your husband. Kudos to you. OP replies, "The worst part is that my husband's parents didn't want him to go to university. They wanted him to go pro right after high school. In fact, he was able to go to a pretty nice high school and get good education because his then coach and him tricked his parents." Good God, it sounds like they really wanted him to turn into a cash cow. This is all I'm thinking, especially with the ruined life comment. Mother-in-law wanted her son to have the fame and wealth for her own status, even though he was the one risking injury, Alzheimer's, his mental health, etc. His lack of interest in athletic glory meant mother-in-law lost her bragging rights and chance to use him and potential connections for status. OP is a legend for her shutdown and for standing up for her husband. Not the asshole, but your in-laws certainly are. Back up to the post, we have an edit/small update. I never expected this much attention, and sorry for not answering every comment. I will clear some points and give you a small update. First of all, thank you for the kind words and the awards. I reacted on instinct and kind of regretted it, but my husband reassured me that it was fine. He would have done the same thing for me, which I know. He's all smiles every time I see him. I'm sorry for those who went through the same thing. I'm glad you left that horrible situation and that you are doing what you want. Good job. I should have been clearer. Mother-in-law says he ruined his life because he wasted the chance to be recognized and famous, something they always longed for and couldn't achieve on their own. My husband stopped competing once he finished university and not after high school. He had to do it so he could maintain his scholarship. The children weren't present when I exploded. They were outside playing. His sister lied to their husbands about the reason why my husband was estranged. They put the blame entirely on him and downplayed what they did. Someone linked a story about a couple who was dealing with the after-trauma, and it's heartbreaking. Injuries and trauma are two of the many reasons my husband never wanted to make boxing his career. Fortunately, he received minimal damage and sees a specialist once a year to make sure that everything is fine. My husband says that over the years, he felt something was off, so he's not surprised they haven't changed their opinion of him and that they were just faking it to gain access to our kids. Small update. Earlier today, when we dropped the kids off at school, his sister's husbands were there, and they wanted to hear my husband's version. We went to have breakfast, and he told them everything. From their reaction, it was clear that their wives were still downplaying the whole thing. According to one of them, his wife is starting to display the same traits as mother-in-law, so yeah. We agreed to talk on Saturday to plan how we're going to move forward with our children, They go to the same school and are very close. We don't want to disrupt their relationship. As for his parents, we are going to talk to them on Saturday to let them know how their relationship with our children and us is going to be from now on. Thanks to all of you again. And now, onto the update. During the week, we talked to our kids and asked them, without being obvious, how they've been treated by their grandparents. We got positive responses, as they have been treated well, to be clear. We talked to everyone on Sunday without the kids, and my husband was the one who did the talking first, as they were his parents. They tried to apologize, but my husband cut them short. He said that we weren't there for apologies or explanations, but to talk about their new relationship with us. He told them that we are no longer going to take the kids to their house anymore. They will have 2 visits per month, and they will be supervised by us. They will be the ones who plan the activities, and they have to inform us with enough time so that we can approve them. The only time they will see the kids besides their 2 times is for birthdays and holidays. They also have to keep their opinions of him or me to themselves, as the moment they run their mouths with our kids present, it will be the last time they will see them. And as for us, we'll be civil, but that's it. They agreed, and before we left, they told us they are separating, to which my husband replied that he doesn't care. The visits and rules are the same regardless for their marital situation. We could split the visits to 1 each, or they could have 2 together, but that's up to them. The visitations will begin after their situation is resolved. Later that day, we visited his sisters and their husbands, all gathered in one house. Pretty much the same drill, but he listened to his sister. His sisters apologized and told us they're going to therapy again. They asked my husband if he was willing to go with them at some point, but he refused. He told them that their relationship is way too broken to mend, that he harbors no ill will towards them, and the only thing he will give them is common decency. He said that it's good that they're going to therapy again, and he hopes they take it seriously now because their kids and husbands deserve better. With that being said, he proposed that things continue more or less the same. We take our kids to their house, or they bring theirs to ours, but with the exceptions of visits from his parents. We explained to them the deal with my in-laws, and that my sisters and parents are still willing to maintain the same relationship with the kids, but not so much with them. Any comment from them, like the one his mother did, and everything will stop. If they have another plan, we could work it out. They all agreed with our plan. For now, everyone is looking to keep things civil for the kids, which I think is a good thing. Anyway, my husband and I draw lines and we'll make sure that they don't cross them. And now in the comments, take a look at this guy, ruining his life by being happy and successful with no noticeable signs of brain damage. How tragic. Maybe the family didn't know any better back then, but they should be horrified today that they pushed their kid into something so risky when he clearly did not want it. Good for the husband. I wonder when the in-laws talked about separation. It's weird that they waited until the end of the conversation and were like, "Oh, by the way, we're separating." It's possible they weren't planning to tell anyone yet, but with the visitation rules laid out by the husband, they felt that they needed to tell him then. That's how I read it, but I could be wrong. I don't know what the father-in-law's role is in this, but maybe this was the straw that broke the camel's back. Maybe he knew he had abused his son, and he was thrilled that he was getting a second chance. Now that's gone, he is once again a father without a son. That would drive a man to leave his wife. But who knows? I'm purely guessing because I didn't read a lot of the details on the father-in-law. Maybe he's an ass too. My boyfriend is freaking out about the baby in the apartment below mine. I, 23 female, live in an apartment building on the middle floor, so there's someone under and above me. I don't really mind the noise, I just tune it out, but maybe a year ago, the couple living below me had a baby. Now, I think it's common knowledge that babies are loud. They cry, they scream, and the parents can't do much about it. I just kinda deal with it. However, my boyfriend, 24 male, isn't quite as accepting. We've been together for about 10 months, and he comes over to my place most nights, even though he has an apartment on his own and I have 2 roommates. I can only assume that the baby's room is under mine because we can hear him, or her, cry very clearly, and we hear his parents talk and sing lullabies to calm him down. It's annoying, but it is what it is. For some reason, my boyfriend goes completely nuts about it. Every day, he goes on about how he hopes the baby will finally shut up, and how rude it is that the baby cries, and how he can't believe that the parents allow him to make noise like that. He ignores me when I try to tell him that it's just a baby, and that the parents are doing what they can. I mean, I'm sure they're a lot more annoyed than we are. Then, at night, if he's woken up by the baby crying, which happens almost every night, he'll wake me up and start complaining about it. I've also told him many times to get earplugs, or if it annoys him so much, we can stay at his apartment sometimes. But he always says that he doesn't want to give in, or whatever that means. Things kind of exploded last night when he, once again, woke me up in the middle of the night and shouted that he couldn't stand this anymore. He was really angry. I've honestly never seen him like this. He kept saying that I had to deal with this and that he couldn't live like this. I told him to please calm down, and he screamed that I had to go shut the baby up. I said that I didn't know what to do. It wouldn't change anything to bother the parents, and he stopped pacing, looked at me, and just said that I obviously cared more about a random child than I did about him. I tried to tell him that no, I love him and want him to be happy, but he just grabbed his clothes and left, banging every door on his way out. I tried texting and calling him, but he doesn't answer me. I just don't know what to do. I love him so much, but I feel like he's going overboard. It's a baby, for crying out loud. Should I go talk to the parents? I feel like that wouldn't help, but maybe it would just calm him down. How do I talk to him about it? I really just need advice on how to deal with all of this. Please help me. In the comments, crying baby and his tantrum aside, it is a huge red flag that he gets annoyed by something that you have no control over, so he wakes you up to yell at you. That is not normal behavior. If he's going to hold another person's crying baby against you, to the point where he's yelling at you, what will happen when it's your baby? Do you think his rage will be less? If you choose to stay, pay close attention. He has already shown you his true colors. Also, she has roommates. I bet they just love this man-child having tantrums in the middle of the night. I was getting abusive vibes from him. He won't listen to her reasonable fixes and won't let her sleep. He also sounds angry, jealous, and violent towards a helpless baby. The problem isn't the baby downstairs, but the toddler that you are dating. If he can't sleep at your house, he needs to stay home. Simple fix. But him screaming at you and getting mad at you is a sign that he cannot deal with his emotions. If a crying baby bothers him so much to the point of shouting about it every time, maybe it's best he doesn't sleep over. He has his own place after all. He doesn't seem to have empathy towards how babies are. Some babies just cry more when teething or can be colicky. So I don't know, like, complaining about it won't change the situation. It's weird how he turned it about him and how you prefer the baby to him. Hopefully it's just the lack of sleep talking, but yeah, maybe it's best he doesn't sleep over if he doesn't take crying babies well. OP replies, he never wants to stay in his own apartment. I don't know why. He just says that he prefers mine. He gets really upset if I tell him that he shouldn't stay at mine if the baby annoys him, so I don't know how to deal with this. The thing about me caring more about the baby was really odd. I've literally never seen this child, so I don't know where he got that from. Who gives a flying F that he prefers staying at your apartment over his own? Tell him he can no longer sleep over if he's going to react like that when a baby acts like a baby. Is he aware that dogs bark, that cars have horns, that there are things in this world that make noise? You have given him reasonable options: sleep at his own place, use earplugs, or grow the F up and move on. Please, please, please double up on the birth control and do not get pregnant by this unbelievably immature asshole. And now, onto the update. Hi everyone, it's been 2 weeks since my post, and I definitely wasn't expecting the kind of engagement I got. I thought you all deserved the end of the story, even though no one asked for it. Basically, the day after I posted, my boyfriend texted me to say that he was expecting an apology for me. I thought about what you all said about not letting him stay at my place again, and about how I should be careful, so I told him that I wanted to meet him in a coffee shop away from my apartment. He tried telling me that he would just come by my house, but I stood my ground and said no. I was going to meet him there. When we met, I started by listing some of the advice I got. I asked him about why the baby crying was bothering him so much, as well as telling him about misophonia, ASD, OCD, and all the stuff that I was told that he might have. I could see that he was getting annoyed by my questions, so I was trying to be quick, but he was rolling his eyes and tapping his fingers. Once I was done, he kinda just went, "That's it? That's all you want to say?" I told him that I was just trying to understand because his behavior about the baby wasn't coherent with who I thought he was, and he, very rudely, said that we had a bigger problem than a baby if I actually thought he was crazy like that. I said that I didn't think he was crazy, just that we have to figure out why he's reacting so intensely to a crying child, because if there is no logical reason, it just means that he's incapable of handling himself like a grown-up. I told him that I didn't want that in my life, that I can't have a future with someone who refuses to deal with his issues, and that I was not there for him to treat me like crap. I was ranting and speaking really loudly, and he was just sitting there staring at me with his mouth open like a fish. I have never spoken to anyone like that in my life. I think I just read so many comments telling me to grow a spine that I might have started to believe myself. I felt really, really proud. I'm usually so bad when it comes to saying what I actually think, and this time I did it. I waited for his response for a couple of seconds before asking him what he was thinking. He was breathing really deeply and was bright red, and he said really angrily that I wasn't who he thought I was if I thought I could speak to him that way. He said that I was meant to love him for who he was and want him without trying to change him, and a bunch of other crap about how wrong it was for me to say things like that to him. At this point, I was done. I was already almost crying because that whole conversation was so hard for me, and his reaction just showed that he didn't care for me or what I was telling him. I got up and told him that we were done, that I didn't want to speak to or see him anymore. I think I also said that I deserved better. I left before he could react, which was very dramatic, but I just didn't want to hear him anymore. Since then, I know that he tried to call me, text me, and come by my place, but I told my roommates that I didn't want to see him, and they have been helpful. He came by 2 days ago again, and banged on the door until my roommate's partner told him that we were going to call the police. That seemed to shut him up, to use his own words. It's been really hard. I know I should probably be dancing and thanking every available god that I got out of that relationship, but still, it was almost 10 months of my life with someone that I thought loved me. I'll be fine, but it's still hard to suddenly be alone. In other news, I finally met the baby from the apartment below mine. He has really big, gorgeous brown eyes, and he smiled at me. His parents are nice, they let me high-five him, and I swear I almost cried. I'm glad that I didn't bother them, they seem like a happy family, and I'm sure they're doing their best. The baby was really cute too. I want to thank everyone who commented or messaged me, even the ones who were rough. I had all of your voices in my mind when I met with my now ex, and I don't think I could have spoken to him if you hadn't told me that I deserved more. Thank you all. In the comments, I love how the boyfriend says he can't live like this, but he doesn't even live there. He chooses to stay over at her place when they have a completely valid other option, staying at his. He did it so he could make her doubt herself. Isn't he so loving that he stays with her at her place, even with all this awful noise? What a terrible girlfriend she must be for not standing up for him and solving this problem. That is how people like this think. They make what other people do and how they feel be all your fault and your problem. It would have only gotten worse. I wonder what he thought she could or should have done about the baby crying. Sometimes anger management issues are a symptom of deeper issues. I'm glad she broke away when she did. Oh, he didn't want her to actually stop the baby from crying. That's the crazy part of abuse. He had a solution. He didn't want it because he wanted it to be the OP's problem and her fault. He wanted her to feel that he was such a good boyfriend for putting up with this, and she was such a bad girlfriend for not trying to stop it. It makes it so she will start blaming herself for more of his problems, even the ones she's not involved in and has no control of. Once you're in this cycle, it is hard to break out because you convince yourself that you can't do anything to help the ones you love. If they can hear the parents singing lullabies, the family downstairs probably heard crazy dude throwing tantrums. What a weird hill to die on. It's like the OP's ex thought that this was a tantrum competition between a child and a man-child's. I think you're right, because when OP suggested they stay at his place, he said something about not wanting to give in. What a bizarre thing to say. I am so glad that OP dumped him. He seems like a real lunatic. That's the kind of guy who winds up in a battle of the brains with his girlfriend's pet cat and then wonders why he gets dumped. The boyfriend thought he was going to have obsessive, unconditional love when dating is all about seeing if all the conditions for your love are met. That man is not ready for a committed relationship until he grounds his expectations and gets some help. Exactly. Dating is about getting to know each other and figuring out if that person matches with you in the long term. It's perfectly reasonable to look for a partner that is an adult, capable of regulating their own emotions, and they don't act like a toddler having a tantrum. I've been married for 11 years, together for 14, and I love my husband with all my heart. But my love is not unconditional. If he ever harms me or my kid or my dog, he is out of here. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for not allowing my kids to get baptized? I, 33 female, have 2 kids, 12 male and 10 female. I have always had a rough relationship with my in-laws. They are the typical, extreme evangelical pastors and didn't approve of me since I wasn't Christian. I am and always have been an atheist. I met with my husband in college and while dating, found out that I got pregnant, which caused more issues. They forced my husband to propose to me since they didn't want their grandkid to be born out of marriage. They tried to make us a religious wedding and tried to make us go to church with them, but I always refused. They calmed down a little when our second came, and we allowed them to have the kids over every now and then, but still tried to push their religion onto us. We're trying to raise our kids religion-free and let them decide once they're older and can understand better. Now to the issue. As I mentioned, our kids go to stay at their home at least one weekend a month, but recently we've been dropping them over every weekend because of the time constraints my husband and I have been having. Well, last week they came to me and asked if we could take them on Sunday to church to get baptized. I was dumbfounded. It was clear they had heard about this from my in-laws. I asked them why they wanted that, and they explained that they had been going to the baptism classes with my in-laws and decided to get baptized. I explained to them that they weren't ready to make that decision and to tell me honestly if their grandma told them to say that. They denied it, but I suspected there was more to the story. I later called my mother-in-law and asked her about it. She didn't deny it and said that they had been taking our kids to Sunday school and baptism classes since they had to be there as pastors and wouldn't leave them at home by themselves. I asked her why she couldn't skip one day for taking care of the grandkids, but she said the kids actually enjoyed it and asked to go. I called her out on her lies and to stop trying to brainwash my kids, but she said I was holding them away. I got very mad and told her to stay away from my kids and hung up. I told my husband. He tried to defend his mum but eventually saw my point and agreed with me. I had to explain to our kids that they couldn't go, but they started begging to let them go. Well, the baptism was supposed to happen this past Sunday, and they are mad at me. They won't talk to me and have asked my husband to let them go stay at their grandparents'. I've been trying to explain why this is best for them now, and we can revisit the idea when they're older, but they refuse to listen, and I'm starting to feel guilty. TLDR, I didn't allow my kids to get baptized since my mother-in-law has always tried to push religion into them, and now they're mad at me. Am I the asshole? In the comments, everyone sucks here. In-laws for doing this behind your back and pushing their views on you, you for expecting your in-laws to drop their responsibilities now every weekend for your free childcare. You and your husband for not having an honest conversation with your kids. They are 10 and 12, not babies. You're the asshole. You were dumping your kids off at someone's house every weekend. You knew they went to church. You knew their beliefs and expect them not to go to church and change their entire routine because you have time constraints. You've really proven that you are really only interested if your kids believe like you do. You're the asshole. They are 10 and 12 and they want to do it. It's not like your in-laws baptized them behind your back. You know they are pastors. What did you think was happening when you dropped them off every weekend? In authoritarian regimes, kids make great puppets of the state too. Kids at that age do not have the life experience and autonomy to stand up to authority when it counts. They are not making independent choices. Since most people equate being religious leaders with being ethical, the OP and her husband probably thought the in-laws were respecting their boundaries. When you say, "What did you think was happening?" what you really meant to say is that devoutly religious people have no morals, and it's expected that they will go behind a parent's back, disrespect their wishes, and indoctrinate their children, all while telling lies of omission. Of course the kids want to do it. They've been indoctrinated secretly by the in-laws. Let's not pretend that small children truly understand the complexities of organized religion. You're the asshole. You violated your own hypocritical plans. You lied to yourself and us. You were not raising the kids without religion and going to let them decide. You were raising them non-Christian as long as they were in your control. And now, on to the update. Well, my original post went a little under the radar, but I had tons of people give me feedback and ask to update on my decision, so I wanted to let the ones interested know the outcome. I took to heart all the advice I got, even the ones that were not so nice, that told me that I was indoctrinating my kids into atheism. I said it in the comments, but I explained that I don't force my kids to not believe or learn about anything, but I agree that it was my mistake to not at least introduce them into religion so they weren't so easily manipulated. Now to address something plenty pointed out: why I left them with my in-laws when I knew that they were pastors. I know that I was naive in thinking they would stop their jobs for taking care of them. It's just that I have seen them skip church to be with the kids. But that will stop now. My husband and I talked about it, and we decided to get a babysitter. And on to the update. I had a long conversation with my husband. He apparently knew that the kids were going to Sunday school and baptism classes because my mother-in-law told him when they started, but he never told me because he didn't see the harm in it. It made me even more mad, but I wanted to keep an open mind. He said he was actually happy that the kids were interested in religion since he still follows Christianity. I feel betrayed that he hid this from me, but we agreed on communicating better. We reached the compromise that we would let our kids do as they please, to some extent. They got baptized last Sunday, and even though I hated having to go to the church, I enjoyed seeing them happy. We agreed that they will go to the church with my husband, but not with the in-laws alone anymore, and that they will not be going every Sunday, since we still have the weekend shifts. I did offer them to look into other religions, as many of you suggested, but they refused. To be honest, I don't know what I'm going to do about that since I don't want to be the bad guy by forcing them to learn about others. Currently, I feel like a bit of an outsider in my own home, since my husband is crazy excited to teach them stuff, and now they have a new family time to do religious stuff, but I guess I'll have to get used to it. Finally, I have gone low contact with my in-laws. I still haven't received an apology, and kind of resent them because I feel they got away with what they wanted, so I decided that it was best if I just get away from them. In the comments, OP, I would be really annoyed and disappointed with my husband. He made a religious decision about your kids on his own. He is excusing it because he didn't see any harm in it. No, he doesn't, because he is a Christian and let his parents facilitate a goal. You will feel like an outsider in things and need time to process that your family dynamic has changed. Find activities that you as a family can do together, maybe a book club, and you can add titles that may include info about other groups and religions. Maybe not now. This is new, your kids and husband are excited, and will be focused on their shared interest. Also note that statement is a blatant lie. If you see no harm in something, you don't avoid talking about it with your spouse. I don't know about most parents, but I know mine discussed anything to do with me or my sister regularly, and were almost never surprised by something the other did involving us. Either this pair is really bad at communicating, and just apparently never discusses how kids are doing with spending every weekend at grandparents', or partner knew that it would be a problem, and thus knew there was harm, so decided to not talk about it. Equally important, someone almost certainly had to have coached these kids that, or mum never once asked, "So did you have fun at grandparents? What did you guys do this weekend?" Because neither of them spoke up about this happening until they wanted to get baptized. Okay. 12-year-old might be close enough to teen to go with, oh, you know, or something similar, but most 10-year-olds I've met are still young enough to be in that state of being excited to talk about anything that has drawn their interest. And OP replies, the only reason why our kids haven't been telling us, or at least me, is because I barely see them. My husband was the one picking them up since I was still working by that time, and in between the week I see them every now and then, but as most pre-teens, they spend most of their time in their room. So sorry that your kids got tricked into that world. I say this as someone who grew up in the Pentecostal church and got really emotionally and psychologically damaged by that upbringing. Please try to be a good force and alternative to soften the hurt that can come from growing up like that. I do not understand how you can be surprised that this has happened. Perhaps you should not have married someone with beliefs that are so different to yours. Yeah, I'm not totally understanding what OP expected here with both her husband and his parents. Her husband is clearly a practicing Christian and would want to pass on his beliefs to his children, which is the same as OP wanting to raise her children free of religion. One of those beliefs would win out eventually. I also don't know what she expected asking working pastors to babysit every weekend. Them taking a weekend off occasionally for the occasional babysitting was one thing, but incredibly naive to expect them to drop their jobs to babysit your kids every weekend because they happen to work in a religion that you don't like. And OP says, my husband and I have never had any issues with our beliefs. We respected each other and never forced our kids to believe either. But you tried to force them not to believe. What do you expect your in-laws to apologize for? They took you at your word, that you'd let your kids make their own choice, and they communicated clearly that they are taking your kids to church. This is ending in divorce. Yeah, much like the children or no children issue, religion-based things need to be thoroughly talked out. Exactly. There is a handful of things that are 100% irreconcilable differences. The decision to have kids, religion, and money are ones that spring to mind. This will end in divorce. They got married for the wrong reasons. Am I the asshole for lying to my son about his paternity? So my son's father just got out of prison and contacted me about seeing him. He was in jail awaiting trial when my son Ken was born, and I did not put his name on the birth certificate. When I got married, my husband adopted Ken. Ken is 16 now, and he had no idea his dad isn't his biological father. I was at a crossroads, but I decided that since Ken is almost an adult, I had to be honest with him. My husband and I sat Ken down and told him the truth and that his bio father wanted to meet him. Ken was furious with me and didn't want to finish talking to us. He went to his friend's house. Ken didn't give me a chance to explain why I did what I did. I wanted Ken to have a happy and normal childhood, unburdened by the knowledge that his father is a criminal. I wanted him to have a healthy male role model. Ken has thrived and is doing great in school. He has friends and even mentors middle schoolers through a program at school. I think my deception helped him. Still, my son feels betrayed and currently won't answer my calls. My husband managed to get a text saying he is okay and just to give him space, but that's all. Was I wrong for trying to protect him? In the comments, you're the asshole. Quote, I wanted Ken to have a happy, normal childhood, unburdened by the knowledge that his father is a criminal. You didn't have to tell Ken his bio father is a criminal to let him know that his dad is not his biological father. You kept this secret too long and blindsided a 16-year-old with this info. I'm not sure how you thought that was helpful to Ken, because he now has to process all of this at 16, rather than it being something he grew up with and could ask questions about as he grew curious or was old enough to understand context. You're the asshole. Truly protecting him would have been to tell him from the time he was little, in age-appropriate ways, that your husband adopted him, not dropping this on him when he was 16 and only because you had to. There is way too much information out there about the harm that is caused by lying to a child about being adopted for you to be innocent. You should have told him sooner. Adoptee here, you're the asshole, more for the defensiveness you're showing now than for what you actually did in the past. Good intentions don't change the fact that you messed up. I think my deception helped him. How can you say that when clearly it has hurt him very much? My parents were always honest with me about the fact that I was adopted. in an age-appropriate way. I love both of them a lot and we have a great relationship, but in my early 30s when I found my birth parents through Ancestry DNA, I found out that my mum and dad had lied to me, both directly and by omission, about several things. I told them how crappy that felt that they lied to me and hid information from me. My parents apologized for the harm they caused, even though it was well-intentioned. They were able to express that they were genuinely sorry, and that after listening to my point of view, they would have made different choices looking back. Because of this, they were able to move past it, and now we are closer than ever. It meant so much to me that they really took in what I explained to them, and that they made the effort and confronted uncomfortable feelings in order to understand my point of view. It is not too late to salvage this. Think deeply about what you did and why it was hurtful. Listen to him. Really listen without getting defensive. Accept that you made a mistake and caused harm, and then tell him that and apologize. Make amends. That's your only path to restoring this relationship. Being defensive is not going to get you anywhere. Good luck. Seriously. I hope you can work it out. And now, on to the update. I know most people here think I'm a terrible mother, so you probably don't want to hear from me again. However, if anyone out there is struggling with a similar situation to the one that I had, maybe this can help you. My son and I sat down and had a long talk. He wanted to know everything about his biological father. I told him there were some things I would prefer not to tell him, but would if he insisted. He insisted, so I told him everything. It was very hard for him, and he had a lot of complicated emotions about it. He asked if his biological father knows where we live. He doesn't. All he has is my email. However, we aren't exactly hidden, and finding us is a possibility. I asked if he wanted me to respond to the email or ignore it. My son asked me to email his biological father and ask him to leave us alone. He asked if his bio father knows our current last name, and I said that he shouldn't. He told me that he's hurt that I lied to him. He feels like he can't trust me as much as he once did. I told him I was sorry, and that part of growing up is learning that parents aren't perfect and don't have all the answers / always make the right choices. He had a long talk with my husband. He said he still considers my husband dad, and they hugged it out. All in all, I regret my decision. I think it would have been better to tell him at a younger age that his dad isn't his biological dad. Then he would have had time to adjust instead of finding everything out at once. As it is, this is a huge revelation to deal with at a time in his life where he has already got a lot on his shoulders. In the comments, maybe get your son a couple of therapy sessions so he can talk out his feelings about stuff. The main thing he needs is time to process and to not be pushed to trust against his will. He will regain his trust of you if your actions and words prove that you love him and feel remorseful for how much it hurt him. This is unfortunately one of the things a lot of parents do wrong, even when relatively good parents. Younger kids handle this information better than older ones, which seems counterintuitive, but younger kids don't understand what normal is yet, while an older kid does and understands the ramifications more, so it hurts a lot more. It also sounds like your son is actually kind of worried about Biodad trying to track you down, so you might want to talk to his school, coaches, etc. to let them know if X shows up to talk to your son, to please send him away and talk as a family about a plan of what to say and do if he shows up at the house. What kind of robbery led to a 16-year conviction? This sounds like it must have been pretty violent to get this kind of sentence. Armed robbery can be up to 20 years in the US. In my state, strong-arm robbery can have a maximum of 15 years, armed robbery can have a maximum of 30 years, Florida, probably including something more than just a simple breaking and entering. This is so sad. It's a total crapshoot of deciding the best time and age and how much heavy adult crap to share with your child without unnecessarily overburdening them. OP handled the fallout as best she could, and hopefully her son will gain the perspective to see the intentions behind her decisions sooner rather than later. From the follow-up, it certainly seems like they are both trying. It's clear OP was coming from a place of love, and seems to accept she was an asshole originally, even if I don't share that view. I don't think she's an asshole, but she made the wrong call about something fundamentally impactful about the life of her child. It is hard to mend things from that. From the perspective of Ken, his parents just lied about this for his entire life, So they are willing to hide this from him. What else are they hiding? Our next post is titled, I want something horrible to happen to my husband. My husband was horrible and downright abusive to me when I gave birth. It started right when I was in the hospital. He did horrible things to me, like kicking me out of the room when I was crying because of the hormones and the pain of giving birth. He said my crying was disturbing the baby. He did many such things for the first month of my son's life, and my health got worse. There were complications. I needed more surgeries. It was a horrible period. Before this, my husband was never a person to even raise his voice. He was never this way, but something flipped the moment he saw his son. This behavior lasted a month, and it was like a switch flipped again, and he was back to being the husband I've always had. Since then, he's been trying so hard to make up for his behavior. It's been 17 months since my son was born, and he does so much to make up for the way that he behaved. He does so much for me and the baby. He barely even sleeps. He treats me like a queen. But I can't forget. I have this rage inside me I've never felt in my life. I have severe mental health issues, postpartum depression, psychosis, you name it. I'm able to live day to day playing house. I truly appreciate all that he does for this family, but I am so angry. So much anger. Every day I daydream about something horrible happening to him, and when he looks to me for support, I will unleash hell on earth. I want him to suffer. I want him to know exactly what he put me through. I feel guilty because in the 7 years we had together, he had a temporary lapse in sanity for a month. He must have been overwhelmed with everything. He works so hard every day for us. I'm blessed to have him, but this burning rage inside me is tearing me apart. Edit. I've been asked to add this comment into the post itself. I've communicated to my husband that I'm very resentful of the way that he treated me, and it's eating me up. He just hangs his head in shame and says nothing. Certain things he did just fundamentally broke me. He got in my face and screamed at me because the baby had jaundice. He said it was my fault. He wanted to start formula. I was making a lot of milk. With the bleeding and cracked nipples, I was feeding him as much as I could. I pumped and checked, and I was making a lot. But he got angry and physically shoved me when I was maybe 2 days postpartum after a C-section. He told me he would never trust me as a mother and grabbed the baby from me. I was crying so much, the nurses in the hospital had to interfere. When the baby was 2 weeks old, I found him on Reddit trying to get nudes from someone. I was shattered. He immediately started apologizing. He tried so hard to hide it. I immediately told his parents, and they begged me not to get a divorce and to wait until I was well enough to make decisions. He was so ashamed of his behavior after that, and he's been trying so hard. After that incident, I got a bunch of complications from birth, and things snowballed from there, and I did not have the time to process any of it. 7 years we were happy. That's why I'm confused. He would do anything for me. I don't know what happened for him to treat me that way. In the comments, you need help. Please get it. I know your husband treated you like garbage during your pregnancy. Have you talked to him about it? If not, you need to. You said your husband does a lot for you and your baby. You gotta get help and let it go before you do something that you can't take back. Both you and your husband need consulting for your family's sake. Please get counseling immediately and checked out for depression and anxiety. Just remember that abusive asshole is lurking inside your husband, just itching to get out again. There is no excuse for his behavior. And OP replies, thank you. I'm going to therapy for postpartum depression and PTSD from the whole thing. I'm scared to start medication, so I'm working with a therapist first. I wish I knew what to think. He's been nothing but wonderful before and after those few weeks. It's just so confusing. He works so hard to make up for it. Well then, he needs some therapy too. New babies and sleep deprivation makes us do crazy things, so forgiveness needs to happen. Once he's figured out just what the heck happened, discuss it with you and properly apologize. From some of your later replies, he's just at a complete loss and sounds defeated. Don't let it hang around and spoil your relationship any longer. PPD and PPP can actually happen to fathers too. Maybe that was happening to him during that month, if his behavior really was completely out of character. And if you're not still nursing and your therapist recommends it, I would really try the medication OP. They can be lifesavers if your brain chemistry is still out of whack. What does your therapist say about your resentment towards your husband? OP replies, "Yes, that's what I was thinking as well. I'm trying to look past it, but he took my baby from me. He shoved me after a major surgery. I can't even start to describe the pain. He called me names and screamed at me. I accidentally fell asleep from exhaustion once, and he poked me very hard on my chest to wake me up, and I started crying because my breasts were already sore and my nipples were bleeding, and he rolled his eyes and ignored me and left the room. This was in the hospital. My head is reeling when I think about how I even survived all of that. I haven't told my therapist any of this. I just told her that he treated me horribly and that I can't really talk about it with her without crying. She didn't push and said I was the one who gave birth and went through all that, and postpartum. Nothing is more important than a healthy mother and a healthy baby, and that I shouldn't be trying to rationalize it when I'm so overwhelmed. Waiting for the universe to do what you think should be done could leave you hanging indefinitely. Better to approach the problem head-on like an adult. Counseling, therapy, I don't know, maybe talking to your husband about it? Doesn't matter if he's making up for it now, it obviously still affects you. OP replies, "That's a good way of putting it. Thank you. Yes, of course I've communicated this with him. He stares at his shoes looking very sad, and he doesn't say a word. He says he has no excuses. I wish I was making some kind of progress." And now, on to the update. The day after I made my first post, I made an appointment with a psychiatrist, and through some cosmic interference, I could get a slot on the very same day. Reading your comments really made me realize that I truly needed help. I met the doctor, and she prescribed some pills for severe PPD and told me that it might take a few weeks to kick in, but for me, the effects were almost instantaneous. Overnight, I stopped sobbing into my pillow. I wasn't contemplating offing myself. My pulse rate went down, and the biggest thing was I felt like I could finally look at my husband without feeling threatened. The noise in my head got duller. I could have a conversation with him without breaking down. I've been taking those pills for almost a month now. I don't feel like I want horrible things to happen to him anymore. I realized my brain was trying to show him what he put me through so that he would realize how much pain I was in. But thankfully those feelings are fading. I'm able to appreciate what he does for me without a knot in my stomach. He's done so much for me and my family in the last 17 months. He's woken up with me every single night. He's pressed my feet through every night feed. He's bought me whatever I asked for. He will take me out if I want to, even if he's had a shitty day. He's moved in with my parents because I wanted to, even though he can't stand my dad. Slowly, the horrible things he did are being replaced with the good things he does. I told him I'm willing to put a pin in dealing with our relationship for now because I want to concentrate on my health before making any big decisions. He said he understood, and he has also started seeing a doctor to get to the bottom of his outburst. Hopefully, we both get to a place where we can move forward. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I'm so glad that I took all of your advice and finally got the help I needed. Postpartum depression really is no joke. In the comments, congratulations on the medication helping you feel better. However, absolutely do not let the good things he does replace the fact that he outright abused you. Yes, focus on your health right now, but do not forget what he did. It could very well happen again. Hell, it may even happen to your kids. He physically and verbally abused you, and I hope that when you're in the right place, you'll separate from him. While it was abusive, he is also seeking help. The fact that it seems like an outlier in behavior makes it look like something else is going on. I hope it was an aberration, and they find the root of his actions. If it is a change and he's becoming abusive, then yes, leave, because no one should tolerate abuse. Honestly, it doesn't matter why he did it. The fact is, he did it. Whatever caused him to become an abusive prick is obviously still in him, and the fact that he didn't love her enough to not disrespect and hurt her will never just disappear because she is taking medication. So, I wanted to think about what you said before replying. Essentially, that's saying no one can change. He has recognized his fault and is working to fix it. He's working to make amends with her. We are getting a snapshot here, and from what she indicated, this wasn't normal behavior. People can do stupid things. I'm not saying it justifies the behavior, but she thinks he's a good man. I hope it was a one-time thing, and it's on OP to look at the relationship and judge whether this is a pattern and if she should walk away. She clearly is also working on her mental health as well, so the situation just sounds like it has been bad all round. I'm just not someone who jumps on the dump him immediately bandwagon because it isn't always the answer. After the first post, I did think she should leave him, but this post makes me think, wait and see what comes out of this counseling to see whether it is salvageable if that's what she wants. Drugs aren't the answer long term, but I know PPD can seriously affect people's judgment, and she should make choices clear-headed. And OP replies, "Thank you. That is what I'm trying to do. I want to work with professionals to get a clear idea about why that happened, but not right now. I'm just so tired. I don't have the strength to deal with another huge life decision, and it doesn't feel like an emergency for me. I'm currently living with my parents, so I'm not alone with him. He has never been a violent man. He never so much raised his voice at me or anyone for that matter. My parents absolutely adore him. I have my guard up, and I'm treading carefully. I have had multiple surgeries, and childbirth has wrecked me. I need to work on myself first before making any big decisions." I'm really concerned that she's hiding the details from the therapist. Who knows if pills are fixing or compensating for the issues? I used to hide details from my therapists, although it wasn't a situation like this one, and it is very detrimental to the therapy. In my case, I thought I already understood some painful stuff from my childhood, so I tried to brush by it. Luckily, I found a really attentive therapist who kept calling me back to moments I teared up. Being honest is really important. You have to be ready to let yourself hurt. My wife went out last night and didn't come home until this morning. This is horrible. I'm furious right now, but I'm also depressed as hell. I know what I have to do. It's just killing me that I have to do it. It's fresh and it hurts a lot. My wife didn't come home last night. She went out with a couple of girlfriends, which is pretty normal for her. She's normally back at around 2 a.m. on these nights, so I stayed up. At around 2:30, I called to check in, and she answered, and I could hear people in the background. She told me that they went to a party but were leaving in a couple of minutes. She wasn't home by 3, so I texted. It delivered, but no reply. Around 4 a.m., I called again, and it rang a couple of times before she sent me to voicemail. My wife finally came stumbling through the door at 6:47 a.m. this morning. I know the exact time because I was worried. She was wearing a dress that she didn't leave the house in, with mesh leggings that I've never seen either. The leggings had been clearly torn, and her makeup was smudged. My heart sank when I saw her. My immediate worry was that she had been assaulted. She only shook her head no when I asked her that. I asked her what she had been doing then. She only said that I knew what she had been doing, and that kind of confirmed what the voice in the back of my head had been screaming since she walked in. My wife cheated on me last night. I asked her who it was. She shrugged almost casually and said that it was somebody they met at the club. She went back to his house and hooked up with him, and then she Ubered home. She then said that she didn't want to fight and just wanted to sleep, so that's what she did. She's still asleep now and didn't even take a shower before passing out. Suffice to say, our relationship is over. We don't have any kids, and we rent, so it shouldn't be an extremely complicated process. I keep trying to reason myself out of it, pretending there might be something to salvage here. I've always maintained that cheating would be a red line for me though, and I think I need to stick to that now. In the comments, you keep trying to reason yourself out of it because this just happened and you are still in shock. The feeling of betrayal is still going to be there when the shock fades, so don't let yourself humor her now. Also, just to be 100% safe, I'd recommend an STD screening. This might not be the first time she's done something of this nature. And OP replies, I really don't think she's done this multiple times. If she had, she'd likely have come home and told me right away anyways. She's always been the type of person who can't keep things bottled inside. I will get tested though. It can't hurt, though I am a little scared of needles. You didn't think that she'd do it the first time either. It doesn't hurt to be safe than sorry. If she's done it once, you would proceed in the assumption that she has done it before, especially given her attitude. Agreed. This was way too blatant for a first-timer. I'm trying to wrap my mind around someone ballsy enough to come home in a different dress. It's either super ballsy for a first-timer, not her first time, or she's given up giving an F. We don't really know what the relationship was like prior to this. If they were already on the rocks, and Opie's wife had already mentally checked out of the relationship, this could be her drunken way of saying, "Screw it, I'm out, and this is how it's happening." Not that it's a good way of doing it. Opie, I don't know if it helps, but this happened to my husband with his first wife. They had 2 kids under 4. He was devastated and thought he could never love or trust again. We've been married 17 years now, and while our marriage is not perfect, as no one's is, he's never regretted finding me after letting go of her and not taking her back when she came calling 3 months after they separated, even though it nearly killed him. I was cheated on in 2 relationships before my wife. It took me 2 years after the second to consider dating again. Luckily met my wife who is very loyal and gives me no reason to worry, and we've been together for over 14 years now and just hit 10 years married. My pro tip to younger co-workers is to give it a few years and see how your partner acts during hard times and if they've truly got your back. If cheating is your deal breaker, and it's a totally reasonable one, the deal has been broken. When she wakes up, she's going to give you the whole song and dance that she was drunk, that she loves you, etc., etc. But the truth is, she broke your trust and your heart and your vows. Stick to your guns and leave the woman who doesn't respect you enough to stay faithful. OP replies, "Thank you. I don't know why it helps to hear it from another person, but it really does. I honestly don't know what I want to hear out of her right now. It's not like I'm going to believe anything she tells me anyway." And now, on to the update. Alright, things have happened. I am no longer at home, as I left. I wasn't able to get the day off work today though, so I'm writing this on my lunch now. It's been a struggle keeping myself together today, honestly. I've had to sneak off to the bathroom twice to cry. It's rough, dude. I'll post something more detailed later on because, holy effing shit, there is a lot. I'm exhausted. I've only slept about 4 hours total since this all happened. Also, to the woman who felt compelled to send me a topless picture, thanks, but also no thanks. My heart just isn't in that sort of thing right now. In the comments, please kick your soon-to-be ex out of your house. Don't give her the satisfaction of being the sole proprietor of a house that you bought together after wronging you. It sounds like she wants you to file for a divorce, but one that would end on her terms. She purposefully lied to you about when she would come home. She probably wanted you to stay awake to be agitated and then make you even more angry by confessing to her infidelity in the coldest way imaginable, thinking that you could have hurt her while you were angry so she could have evidence against you in court. She may have been drunk, but that wouldn't make her less calculating. Stay strong, man, and always remember that it wasn't your fault and you're not the bad guy, but your wife is. She's a terrible excuse of a wife and a pathetic, cheating loser. And now, on to the final update. Me again, folks. I'm sorry that I didn't get around to this sooner. I wasn't able to get the day off work yesterday because my boss kinda sucks. I was a complete mess at work yesterday though, so I was allowed to take the rest of the week as vacation, thankfully. I think I went through all of the stages of grief while my soon-to-be ex was sleeping. I wasn't expecting my post to get any attention at all. I just figured that I needed to try to talk to someone about it because I was not in a good headspace. I made the post in the morning, and by noon, she was still conked out in the bedroom. By then, I had processed things a bit more, and I had a rough plan in my head that I was starting to set in motion. I made a short list of questions that I wanted answers to. I gathered up all my important documents, my laptop, etc., and then went into the bedroom and started packing myself a suitcase. I know a lot of folks wanted me to kick her out. I did consider it, but honestly, I'm not overly attached to this place. We just rent, and I'm in a lucky enough situation to be able to say that paying half the rent for a few months isn't going to financially end me. It'll still sting a little bit, I won't lie, but I'll make it, and I feel like being around this place is only going to remind me of her anyway. I need to be looking forward, not back. She ended up waking up about halfway through me packing my suitcase. There was momentary confusion as she looked around the room, and then she just started bawling. Maybe this is awful of me, but I didn't bother comforting her. I told her that I had the screenshots of her Uber and text messages from her phone, and that, plus her confirmation, was enough that things between us were completely done. She didn't answer me, and just cried louder. I debated trying to continue the conversation, but I decided to just pack the rest of my suitcase and head back out to the living room until she came out. When she finally left the bedroom, she sat next to me on the couch and asked me if we could talk things through. I told her as calmly as possible that wasn't how things were going to work. I was going to ask questions. I wanted honest answers. She told me she'd be honest, so I proceeded. My voice was shaking the entire time. It was taking me everything to hold it together, but I kept going. Was this the first time she had cheated? She started crying before she answered that, and then told me no. She had cheated on me multiple times over the course of our relationship. It was, and I'm going to use her words exactly here, just sex, a way for me to let off steam. None of it ever meant anything. I wrote a comment shortly after making my post that all the love couldn't just fade away in one swoop. Well, it can. It hit me right then that I wasn't dealing with my wife. The person I was married to literally wasn't in the room. This was someone different. She refused to tell me exactly how many times she had cheated, just more than last night. Had she used protection? No hesitation from her before she nodded her head emphatically. She seemed surprised that I'd even ask that. I'm still going to get tested just to be safe. I did some research into timing and I'm going to look after it. Were her friends also cheating on their spouses? Yes and no. I tried to get her to tell me which of her friends were cheating so I could get in contact with their spouses. She probably should have, because her refusal led me to be messaging pretty much the romantic partner of every one of her girlfriends that I could find on social media. There are a couple that I don't know or couldn't find, but I did my part. Why did she do it? This was the answer that gutted me the most. I'm going to use her exact words again. I need to have sexual variety. I told her that it's not like our sex life is dull, and she clarified, it's not the same as something new. I didn't even have a response to that one. I had expected something about me working too much or not supporting her emotionally. Nope, she just screwed other guys because she felt like it and wanted to have some fun. When I didn't respond, she started asking me about counseling and therapy. I reiterated that our relationship was over and I'd be leaving. What she did next disgusted me. My ex actually tried to have sex with me. She put her hands on me and started trying to take off my clothes. I felt like I wanted to vomit, and I pushed her away after a couple of seconds. She just kept telling me that she would figure out a way to fix it, that we would work through it together. I told her that there was no way, and she started bawling again. She went to the bathroom and locked herself inside. I was just sick of everything at that point. I called her mother and told her what was going on. The full story too. The cheating, the questions I had asked, and the fact that I was leaving. I've always had a good relationship with my ex's parents. They both decided to drive to town, which is about an hour for them. Once I knew someone was on the way, I just grabbed my things and left. Her waterworks in the bathroom were just annoying me because it felt hollow to me, especially given the answers to my questions. I ended up packing another bag before I left and took all the things that I could think of that I felt sentimentally attached to with me. I then found a parking lot and sat in my car until I was able to get in contact with a buddy for a place to crash. I tried to take a nap, but I was running on way too much adrenaline. I knew when her parents had made it to the apartment because she started calling me. When I didn't answer those, she started texting me. She had gone from sad and crying to furious. Apparently, I'm an effing piece of crap for telling her mum everything. Whoops. I'm not sorry. I've received roughly 100 texts from her since leaving. They range from name-calling all the way to begging me to come back to sending me pictures of the food she ate for some reason. I haven't responded to any of them. I feel like I said my piece before leaving. So that's where I'm at now. We didn't have joint finances, so that part was easy. I cancelled all the subscriptions that got to my credit card just to be sure, and changed all my important passwords. I'm crashing on a friend's couch for the next bit, but I've got some feelers out for some short-term rental places until I can find something more permanent. I've got feelers out for a divorce attorney too. A co-worker of mine had a recommendation, so barring something better, I'll also probably just go with them. I also wanted to say that I was shocked how supportive everyone was, and thank you for that. Truly, from the bottom of my heart. It isn't easy for me to talk about emotional things with people close to me. This was an invaluable venting place for me. Thank you all so much. In the comments, My ex also tried to have sex with me when he told me he cheated. He was literally biting my neck while I cried on the bed. These people aren't normal. I genuinely think he was sociopathic, and I think yours is too. It's sickening, but a good final nail in the coffin to really kill those feelings. OP replies, "It was her nails on my chest when she tried to take my shirt off that got me. It still makes me cringe thinking about it. I hope you're doing a lot better now. Glad you had the strength to get out of there and not put yourself through more of your ex's bullcrap. I find it funny that she started crying now. Seems like a complete flip from how heartless and cold she was to you when she first came home. Good riddance and good luck to your future, OP." OP replies, "I honestly don't know if she was crying because I was leaving or just because she was caught and the little universe she had built for herself was crumbling. I'd like to think she cared that I was leaving on some level, but her response to the whole thing does make me question. I'm looking into therapy, but as weird as it sounds, I want the anger to fuel me a little longer." The crying was the same reason a child cries when it gets caught with its hand in the cookie jar. The way she responded and acted, and her reasoning behind all of it, tells me she didn't care. She just cared about getting caught, and that this will change her way of living. Honestly, her crying sounds way more attention-seeking and obnoxious, and she only did that to get sympathy from her ex and back together with him. Yeah, right, like that's going to work. Also, she is delusional, goddamn. Quote, "None of it ever meant anything." That line that so many cheaters use perfectly illustrates how selfish these people are. OP replies, "I read several cheaters posting online using that same excuse. I don't know, maybe there is some truth to it. Maybe in the moment they aren't thinking about their spouse. It still doesn't change the decisions they make to continually mislead, but maybe it's not an outright lie. How did the wife think this was going to be fixed? Because she doesn't understand that the issue is the broken trust, not the physical act itself. I managed to forgive an ex for cheating, but realized I could never trust him again. I have never had anxiety before or after, but my brain was sending me constant thoughts that he was cheating, or him hiding his screen and suddenly clicking off Facebook. This was 10 years ago, when he realized I could see him messaging people, which may or may not have been innocent. I'll never know. But when it hit me, even if it was the best case scenario, for example, he was planning a wonderful surprise of some description, my brain would not be able to accept that anytime soon. I took a break from him and never got back in touch. I realized I was no longer questioning what people said or whether I was going bonkers from seeing one thing to be told I'm imagining it. You can forgive yourself to heal, but rebuilding trust isn't always possible. Her sending food pics mid-rant made me lol. "I love you so much, please can we get through this? Our love is strong. You piece of mother effing trash, you tiny dick, you F. I effing hate you. Yo, try the biggie bag from Wendy's, this crap is tight, bro."